The following program may soon be viewed by people without wearing a mask. We are hopeful that maybe if given trends continue, sometime in the near future, wearing a mask while viewing this show may not be completely necessary at all times. That is not to say that people should be removing their masks yet, but if people continue to wash their hands regularly and take precautions at our current pace, we can start to see a slight decline, which, given current projections, suggests that we may consider having an analysis at that time, whereby we would phase out mask wearing while watching the following program sometime over the next 6 to 8 months. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. I have a lot of topics that I want to cover tonight. I don't know that I'm going to get to them all. I really don't. It's just like Murderer's Row. I don't even know if everyone's going to get a chance to bat. We'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. This is the agenda as I'm seeing it. Okay, the agenda that I have queued up. And all different references on the thumbnail. I got probably gonna do it in this order too. So if you're coming in afterwards and you're trying to guess where do I jump to, because this guy never leaves me any timestamps. Well, in that case, you probably should recognize I'm gonna start with Biden and the supposed plot to remove him from the ballot this November. I'm going to move from there into conversations about a lawsuit that's been filed against a major party from big jabby jab. I'm going to refer to that action as the action that shall not be named, and the party producing it as the party that shall not be named, only because I still don't know how YouTube feels about that. And I'm twice bitten, 47 times shy about that. So so that's going to be the second topic, is this lawsuit, and is it viable? And frankly, I'm probably going to end up doing research with you during the course of this show. I have some starting points. I'm still at this moment in time, at this second, I still don't know whether or not it's viable. But we're going to hopefully figure that out together. Maybe some of you have some inside different law that you've looked at. Third thing I plan on covering is this motion to remove Judge Glanville from the RICO case, Fannie's second RICO case. I guess technically this was the first one, but the other Fulton County RICO case, not the Trump one, but the YSL RICO case, and the efforts to remove Judge Glanville from that case. And finally, there was something else. Oh, yeah. I'm definitely going to give you updates about ungagging Trump. And I may cover some talk about InfoWars staving off shutting their doors. We'll see if I have time for that. I'm doubtful about that. If I cover it, it would be last. So that's the order. That's what we're doing. First order of business, though, is Master Phillips hit me with 5. I didn't put my thing in yet. I didn't put my sound in yet. Oh, you're not going to get the sound yet? There we go. That's not how I wanted to do that. That's how we wanted to do that. 5. Good Lawgic memberships. Let's see who we brought on board. Oh, that's not good. Oh, how am I going to do that? Oh, I know how to do that. Did I not post this? very upset with myself. All right, who do you bring on board? Let's see what we got. Taylor and Kiwi Cal. Kiwi Cal gifted a membership courtesy of Master Phillips, Jimmy 3 Balls, A and Al, as well as Yorick. All you welcome to the following. The following is not your parents' type of cult. Because it's not a culty type of cult. It's not a cult. It's not at all a cult. What am I even saying? It's not at all a cult. Type of cult. Yeah. So welcome to the following. Thank you, Master Phillips. The king is back like on a daily basis, hence he's the king. I was thinking like maybe those other individuals who are joining in, we can give like chief of recruitments, if our king, maybe chiefs. I don't know. C.A. Human, Barbara, bunch of folks, and Matt Skinner, all of them like vying for titles the other night. Their generosity. Okay, so let's start off talking about Biden. In case you missed it, one of the popular topics in the news over the last couple of days has been this freeze that Biden had at a really terrible moment. It's no joke. It's not at all a cult. I swear. It's not at all a cult. All right. Let's this is the freeze. This is the moment when it was pretty clear to everyone watching that the lights were not all on. The lights were not all on for poor Joe Biden. Not at all on. I will spare you the wrench. You will be spared the wrench. All right, so let's check out this moment here near the end of his fundraiser with Barack Obama. I'll read that because that's gonna. There he is. The music's is gonna make all sorts of claims from different people and stuff. So, but here he is at the end there. That's our president. That's our guy, our boy, together with former President Barack Obama. And there he is. Time to leave now. They're leaving Jimmy Kimmel. Let's wave. Okay, Jimmy's all excited. If you look at, I'm going to make it bigger so you can actually really get a good, let me give you a good full view of this. You can see there, he doesn't look, he's like lost. Everyone else is waving. He's like, what am I doing up here? Look at Joe the entire time here. He's just staring out. I guess he could sort of be having like and this is when, frankly, anyone who wasn't old would say I was having a senior moment. Why? Because when you're having a senior moment, you look like this guy. That's what it is. You look like this guy. Look at him. He's just standing there phasing out. When the music's off, it really looks even worse. It's just look at him. Senior moment. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 there we go. Now he gets a little tap as his handler. Yes, his handler, Barack Obama. And when I say handler, I don't just mean physically in this moment, but his handler 24/7 in all things presidential. His handler reaches over for him. There's a little reach like you would do for some old man who's lost and doesn't know where to go. And there it is. Are we supposed to go? Is it over? Oh, yeah, it's over, Joe. Let's go. There you go. Oh, they say walk straight now. Walk straight like a robot. He looks like a robot just walking. He looks like left leg up, left leg down, right leg up, right leg down. Wow. Wow. This should be a reminder to you to repent, because one day you will get old, look like that, and be food for worms shortly thereafter. This is the best nickname I heard for him. The best nickname I heard, which you're going to see tonight, is Ruth Bader Biden. Ruth Bader Biden. Oh my God. He looks terrible. Terrible. He does not look good. No, sirree, Bob. Does not look good. Ruth Bader Biden. Whew. All right. Well, I stole that one. You'll see my source for that soon, though, as I'm going to pull the article. Barb says the docs that dropped today to remove the judge on the case is lit. The mole has even lawyered up. Well, we're going to look it up. We're gonna be looking at it. We're gonna be looking at it. I think I've got the right docs. It's like a 27-page motion. We'll be looking at it. We're gonna be looking at it in great detail soon. I'm probably gonna jump there right after this story. I want to cover this story, and I'm probably gonna go jump there next, just because I have a feeling that one's gonna eat up a chunk of time. So, yeah. All right. So anyhow, where are we at? Okay, so that was the incident in question. That was the incident right there. This caused the White House and a lot of folks to basically start trying to spin. And wait, here's Trump with someone taking his hand. Here's a still frame. So you see, he's just as bad. This is what has been put. This is what I stumbled on. Here's a little montage of Joey Boy drifting off into the sunset, which has being played all around Karine Jean-Pierre as she's fielding questions that she doesn't really like, courtesy of Amuse. On X, this guy is known as Amuse.
There seems to be a sort of rash of videos that have been edited to make the president appear especially frail or mentally confused.
Notice how the phrasing of this question is. A rash of edited videos. Why do you say edited? What do you mean edited? That makes it sound like it's like trying to set up her answer, which you'll see her ridiculous answer.
The White House is especially worried about the fact that this appears to be a pattern that we're seeing more often.
Yeah, and I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are.
You all, the legacy media, which carries water for our administration, thank God. Otherwise, we never would be here. You've all been calling it deep fakes. No one knows why. Nobody knows why. Why are you calling them deep fakes? What? Okay, is there any evidence that any of these videos have been doctored? Any evidence at all? The only one that I think at all, you have the 4 incidents here. You have here where he's greeting the British troops with King Charles. You have that incident over down here, which we were just watching. Here's when he was addressing the military. And I think this is when he was addressing the military. And this is where he just wanders off. And these will all be playing at the same time. This one down here where he supposedly was sitting, I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what's happening. A lot of people have made fun of him for this, saying that he's filling a diaper. I don't believe that to be the case personally. I don't know what's happening. Maybe he thinks there's a chair there. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely not sign of good physical health. Let's put it that way. You don't see Olympians doing this one. You just don't see them. They never get up on the podium and then make a move like he's about to make down here. You just never don't. You just, for one reason or another, they stand there more like Jill and Hunter and whoever this blonde chick is, and they don't stand and they don't start doing what our president is doing here. But here's her desperately trying to spin this into like, no, this is all just fake news. Fake. If you're fake news, that's what she needs, a voiceover of Trump.
Fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith. And
how so?
And some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right wing critics of the president have a credibility problem.
Well, you can keep pretending they have a credibility problem. It's in their best interest to claim that anyone other than them has a credibility problem. But what part have they poked as being wrong?
Because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation.
Really?
And so
we see
this, and this is something coming from your.
It's like over here, he's drifting off into the sunset, drifting off. He's just always drifting off.
your part of the world, calling them cheap fakes and misinformation. I'll quote the Washington Post, where they wrote about this, and they said how Republicans use misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period. And to their credit, we have a conservative Washington Examiner did call them out as well, calling out the New York Post. Ironically, several recent cheap fakes actually attacked the president for thanking troops. For thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president.
They're not attacking for thanking troops. They're attacking him. They're attacking him because he's dealing with a deck of 24 cards.
For both in Normandy, this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. Instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins.
His legislative wins.
What he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos. And it is, again, done in bad faith.
All right, now I'm curious. She claims the Washington Examiner called out. I don't believe that's true. Washington Examiner, New York Post, fake. It doesn't seem like that's what the Washington Examiner is saying. That does not seem like what. Yeah. Washington Examiner is a more right-leaning paper. That's why I couldn't believe they called out. Coupled with the rise of for-profit hoax reporting and the fact that the press is about as disliked and distrusted as Congress, you think newsrooms would start handling thinly veiled and sensational stories with greater care. But some old habits are hard to break. Consider, for example, how newsrooms covered the story of Yasmin Sawald, an 18-year-old Muslim woman who claimed this month that she was harassed and bullied in New York City by 3 Donald Trump supporters. Her story appears to be a complete fabrication, only because it's hard to find 3 Donald Trump supporters. Although I guess now in New York you might be able to. But that part didn't come out until long after media had given her initial tale a lot of uncritical press. Yeah, this seems like they're calling out deep fakes. Seems like a very legitimate. She's such fake news. Here's New York Post responding to her. White House makes wrong claims while accusing Post of misreporting videos of Biden freezing up, wandering off. Yeah, if she thought that was going to stop them. The White House went on the offensive against the Post Monday for calling out President Biden's frailty in a series of recent videos. Here's your link to it in case you want to watch them all, only to make false statements of their own in the process. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre accused the Post of spreading misinformation about videos of the 81-year-old president at recent events with G7 world leaders and former President Barack Obama. Those events include a Thursday video of Biden being corralled by Italian PM Giorgia Meloni after a skydiving demonstration and former President Barack Obama escorting his former VP off the stage. Jean-Pierre called the clips cheap fakes, meaning to claim that they were altered by humans through techniques such as zooming in and leaving out context, but also incorrectly called them deep fakes, referring to AI-created footage with altered subjects and audio. I think you have to call this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. Cheap fakes video, sick, and they're done in bad faith, press secretary said at a regular briefing. And some of your news organizations have been very clear, have stressed that these right-wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation. Yeah. She is such a liar. She is such a liar. She pretends that the Washington Examiner was calling out the Post rather than saying that there's so many lies that legacy media have told, both about the news and about credibility of other newspapers, that they make it hard for people to know what's true anymore. That's really what newspapers, that's really what the legacy media has become. It's basically they become the ultimate blanket for this sort of thing, to just make sure that even if you're not going to believe our lies, at least you're not going to have any idea what the truth is. I guess unless you tune into good logic. So, Daily Mail has a whole theory that this is all, that what we're seeing here is a secret Democrat plot to replace Biden. As they report how Clinton, Obama, Pelosi, and Schumer would topple the aging president, and when they do it. All right, here we go. I'll tell you what I think of this as we go through it, how plausible this sounds. Nearly every time President Joe Biden appears in public these days, he fuels the chatter. Will aging Joe bow out of the 2024 race? Will he be forced to step aside? In the latest incident, Barack Obama is seen on Saturday reaching for Biden's hand and seemingly guiding the 81-year-old commander-in-chief off the stage at a Los Angeles fundraiser. And that came after Biden stood motionless and stared blankly for a full minute and Juneteenth celebration at the White House on Monday, as others sang and danced around him. Eventually, Philanese Floyd, brother of the late George Floyd, noticed Biden's concerning pause and wrapped his arm around him to help. White House spokesperson Andrew Bates is denying that Biden froze in the viral video, calling it a cheap, fake memo being spewed by the media. But it seems no matter how much cold water the Biden campaign or Democratic Party throw on this raging fire of speculation, Americans will not be put off of the great Joe Biden replacement theory. It is the idea that somehow, some way, the president will be swapped out as the Democratic Party's candidate ahead of the 2024 election. Now, to be fair, I will be completely candid with you. I said a long time ago, now, I don't think he's going to make it to the election. And frankly, he's made it a lot further than I thought he would. So I said he's not going to make it to the election. I don't know that he's not going to make it to the. I don't know whether or not they're going to be able to get rid of him now. I thought he would have been gone 3 or 4 months ago, frankly. I thought he would have cited his ill health as a basis to step down. Maybe they couldn't convince him to do that. I don't know. But yeah, I did speculate about that a long time ago, but I was far from alone on that. I'm surprised he's made it as far as he has. I don't know whether or not they're going to have a chance to get rid of him. It really depends on who the replacement would be, in my opinion. Quote, dropping out would be a big risk, but there's some threshold below which continuing to run is a bigger risk, polling guru Nate Silver wrote on social media last week. Are we there yet? I don't know, but it's more than fair to ask. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him here. Look at him. Is that real? Is that a deep fake? It almost looks like he's too still for it to be real. I don't know. Your advertisements. No one cares about your advertisements. Meanwhile, Jenny L. Hit me up. But a nice fitty right there. Thank you, Jenny. Let's keep marching to 100K. Let's keep marching to 100K. Amen. Are his hands moving? Is anything moving? By the way, when I saw this video, I didn't even notice Joe Biden. All I noticed was how awful Kamala Harris dances. It's like she's doing an imitation of Elaine. I was like, if you ever had questions about what her ethnicity is, one thing we can rule out from this video is black. It's terrible. She literally looks like she's doing her best Hillary Clinton. He is moving. He is moving. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty vacuous right there. All right. Well, anyhow. Silver found at the website 538, founder of 538, noted that Biden's average approval rating has reached a new low of 37.4%. And chief among voter concerns is his age, which Silver concluded to be an extremely understandable concern, given the fact that he looks like a vegetable. Biden acts his age, and he's a huge outlier to ask for the job until 86 years old. Can you even imagine him 4 years from now? Anyone can imagine him for 4 years? Atlantic columnist Mark Leibovich cruelly stamped the president Ruth Bader Biden earlier this month. Brilliant. It's just a brilliant nickname, Ruth Bader Biden. That one's going to, I think that one may stick. Ruth Bader Biden. So good. That's a reference to late Supreme Court President Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who once angered some liberals by refusing to retire during Barack Obama's presidency and subsequently passed away during Trump's term, allowing the Republican president to nominate a conservative justice. Oh, I call him, you see, that's how they're interpreting it. I say that because he looks like she did when she jumped into the crypt. And James Carville, the political mastermind behind Clinton's presidential campaign, said flat out this month that Biden should not have run for re-election. Now, a last-ditch effort by Biden backers to silence his critics inside the party may prove to be his ultimate undoing. According to Democratic bigwig Obama campaign guru David Axelrod, the Biden team scheduled one of the earliest presidential debates in history, June 27th. I thought that was early. I will be live streaming that, obviously. June 27th on CNN, to prove to naysayers that Joe's not going anywhere, but the gambit carries tremendous risk. While an efficient debate performance by Biden could help rally Democrats behind him, a significant misstep would only stoke more replacement chatter. I'm actually hoping he does well enough. Frankly, my personal opinion is I hope he does well enough to stay in the race. I think his campaign is unsalvageable. So I will be covering it. I'll be looking for him to actually look effective. Former Clinton advisor and polling expert Mark Penn suggested the CNN debate will be Biden's last chance to reassure voters he's fit for the job. Quote, they have deliberately thrown down the gauntlet for an early debate, Penn said, and I think that's going to be the point at which Americans judge, is he ready for another term or not? Now, DailyMail.com has learned that if Joe stumbles in that first face-off with Trump, or if his polling numbers keep falling, it'll take a united front of the liberal grandees to make Joe throw in the towel. Quote, the only people who could force him out would be Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer, one Democratic strategist told DailyMail.com. Quote, it would have to be the four of them collectively. I don't think so. I think Barack Obama is holding all the cards. And the process would be high risk. One consultant theatrically described the difficulty level of replacing their candidate as similar to trying to turn that doomed container ship that careened into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore in May. The sad story ended with a total collapse and 6 deaths. But other party insiders concede that the candidate swap could work if everything was carefully planned and executed. To me, this should be your biggest concern. This should be our biggest concern. Political columnist Joe Klein theorized in a recent newsletter that if Biden were to stand down a vigorous young candidate, I don't think they have to be that vigorous or that young. They just need to be the right name. Don't ask me who. Could win over the country with a single convention speech in August. Vigorous young candidate? Vigorous? I mean, everyone knows that the scariest person would be Michelle. The likely candidate is Whitmer, and I think the dark horse is the likely candidate is Newsom, and I think Gretchen Whitmer is the dark horse. But they're going to have to go with name recognition if they're going that late. You're not going to introduce someone new and get them onto the ballot. It's just not going to happen. Inclined scenario, the Democratic Party's savior would deliver an Obama-esque inspirational speech akin to Barack's famous 2004 Democratic Convention address. See, here's the thing. His address came 4 years before he ran. Most people didn't watch him give the address. They just kept touting him and touting him and touting him after he gave, supposedly, I still haven't seen the address, but supposedly a very effective address in 2004. And they had fought 4 years and tons of social media to pump him up, particularly in 2008. If it's some new, fresh name, there's no way that you're going to garner sufficient name recognition to duplicate that. That would quickly bring together disaffected Democrats and moderate independents. Plus, wrote Klein, Democratic Party's prodigious dislike of Trump would unite any disaffected factions behind the new nominee. However, there's another potential complication. As the recognized leader of the Democratic Party, a stubborn Biden could refuse to step down and fight on to Election Day, even as the party grows more exasperated with his performance. Biden is fiercely proud of his first-term accomplishments. That's how you know his mind is gone. Which he dubiously boasts are more significant than any other modern president's triumphs. Wow. Though, to be fair, Biden was the one who beat Trump in 2020. Purportedly. Additionally, while Biden respects former House Speaker Pelosi, Clinton, and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, his growing resentment of Obama has become painfully clear. Really? The former president famously backed Hillary Clinton in 2016 over Biden in the Democratic Party and even reportedly tried to stop his vice president from running in 2020. Ironically, both Barack and Michelle Obama appear to have intentionally kept their distance from the Biden White House, knowing that their public appearances trigger nostalgia for the days when voters didn't think that their candidate was a loser. Barack Obama made a brief appearance at the White House state dinner for the Kenyan president. The jokes write themselves. The jokes write themselves. I had to reread that sentence. Barack Obama made a brief appearance at the White House state dinner for the Kenyan president in late May, and Michelle was nowhere in sight. The Kenyan president? Mrs. Obama, I don't even know what does this sentence mean? Barack Obama made a brief appearance at the White House state dinner for the Kenyan president. Was a state dinner for the Kenyan president that Obama happens to show up for? And Michelle's not there? All right. Mrs. Obama, who has no close personal feelings for the Bidens, according to one well-connected Democratic source, flat out ignored the invitation. Oh no, Michelle doesn't like him. What is happening here? The troubling incident at Democratic fundraiser held at the Peacock Theater in downtown LA on Saturday night only underscored the concerning optics for the Biden campaign. Video shows Biden giving the audience a thumbs up before rigidly staring out over the crowd. Obama, still smiling and waving, takes Biden by the wrist and gives him a gentle tug to walk off stage. On Monday, in response to the article, a spokesman for Nancy Pelosi reiterated her support for the president, telling the Mail that Speaker Pelosi has full confidence in President Biden. The Democratic Party machine has now elected to hold an online nomination complete with a virtual roll call to formally select Biden as their nominee ahead of the DNC convention in Chicago in mid-August. Part of the reason to go virtual is to ensure a more controlled process should the party decide to select a replacement candidate. They're going virtual. Wow. A virtual nomination. I guess it's less likely he'll poop himself there. In that case, top Democratic leaders would quietly draft the substitute nominee in advance. Wow. That person would not be Vice President Kamala Harris, according to sources, and not merely because she dances like she has rickets. According to sources who have observed that Harris has already had to fend off a push to replace her on the ticket. It doesn't just become Kamala. Kamala only becomes the nominee if Biden dies. One block. Democrats saying Kamala only becomes the nominee if Biden dies. If he's in a coma, no. But he's in a no. He's still breathing. No. She only becomes the nominee if he dies. Another Democratic political insider believes that Harris, look at that face. How can anyone not vote for this face? How can anyone not vote for this face? Oh my God. Look at that face. Wow. Wow. That's just astonishing. Wow. It looks like Hillary when she had a stroke looking at balloons. What is happening here? What is with her face? What happened to her face? Is this is this a bad Botox? What happened to her face? Oh my God. The children are running in horror. This is like this looks like the cover for some new Netflix series called Botox Gone Wrong. When gators attack, I don't know what this is. What is with her face? So I don't understand. Another Democratic political insider believes that Harris has failed so badly as vice president that she's made it nearly impossible for Biden to step aside because the party would have to contend with progressive blowback over passing over the potential first black woman president. She's not a black woman. Did you not see her dance? Do you know she's a descendant of slave owners, like in Haiti? She ain't a black woman. This is the problem. They lied about her so much to try and sell this crazy, moronic woman. Just utterly moronic. You see, this is, if she were to describe her president, this is like, the queen of word salad. Of terrible words. The queen of terrible word salad. Terrible word salad. If she, I can imagine if she had to run, what we would see from potential presidential candidate Kamala Harris is the reason that I'm running now is because when you're running for president, you need to run for president so that the running for the president is not just about the run. It's about running for president. that would be her announcement that she's running. Unbelievable. Terrible. If not Harris, who? Strategists theorize Democrats would have to hold a public event to symbolically transfer power to the new candidate. Biden, Obama, Clinton, Schumer, and Pelosi would publicly introduce and endorse the anointed nominee. They should have some sort of competition. That's what they should do. MSNBC should have a whole bunch of Gen Zers say, pick me. We know they don't care about the Constitution. So what if they're under 35? Who cares? Pick me. Because I would be totally the best president. It's not fair. Why are you picking me to be president? They would also have to convince Harris to throw her support behind the substitute, which would be a painful experience for anyone to watch, but also for her to engage in, for someone so fiercely protective of their political future. She thinks she has a political future. Why is she always in pantsuits? Who wears these things? Where do they sell these things? It looks like something. It looks like something a dude would wear to a wedding in the 70s. Who wears this stuff? Oh my God. So weird. So weird. I agree that anytime you're watching Kamala do anything, it's painful. They would also have to convince Harris to throw her support behind the substitute, which would be a painful experience for someone so fiercely protected the political future. And the Biden replacement would also be a risk for the replacement nominee if he or she should took up the party banner and then lost to Trump in November. Their political careers may never recover. All Democrats may have some painful decisions ahead. Biden has said American democracy is on the line in the 2024 election. Democracy is on the line. If his party becomes convinced that he'll lose, they'll feel compelled to take drastic, perhaps even unimaginable action. Wow. So there you go. Do you think Biden's going to make it? That's the poll question. That's the poll question. Do you think Biden will be on the ballot? Do you think Biden will make it all the way through? Why don't I see it? Here it is. I'm going to leave it just as a yes, no. Will Biden make it to November? Yes or no? There's your poll. Mick Jagger is less than 1 year younger. Goodbye, Ruby Tuesday. New nickname for is Joey Wormfood. We could do better. I think Ruth Bader Biden is better. There are two ducks. Woody's lawyer filed on Friday. Nobody knew about. Young Thung's lawyer, Steele, filed the huge one today. Fresh Kool-Aid for all. All right. All right. The one where he's filling a diaper, there's a different angle. Show him grabbing a chair behind him. The others are accurate. I know the others are accurate. I know. I'm saying a prayer for they tag in Gretchen, leave Michigan. No, she scares me. She really scares me. She looks like genuinely evil. My wacko prediction is that Tulsi Gabbard, after 2 years of distancing, will have a come to Jesus moment, returning to the Dems, then is nominated. That's going out there on a limb, Kate. You're going out there on a limb. I'm not going to kid you. She is another crazy DA. Joe, how have you not caught on to the left's obsession with the obligatory Maoist pantsuit? What's more the left's communist ties? It is Maoist. I hadn't thought of that. I had not thought of that. That's a really great point. Wicked Whitmer of the West. That's funny. That's pretty funny. Let me check in on the ghetto so that they don't feel neglected. Let me see. Is this the right one? This is the right one. I did miss one. TX47. Look up criminal defense lawyer James. Wait, is this? This is not it. On the wrong page. Uno momento. Where are you? Here it is. Okay. Oh my. York Tarleton. Dang. Wow. Hit me with a hundy on over on Rumble. God bless you. A Rumble rant of $100 from York Tarleton. I'm going to give him another one because in fact, I'm going to do better than that. Let's pull this up. Where he says, yeah. Love your content. I don't have a lot of money. Let me send this out for another vet. Green Barrett's wife got deported for a visa overstay during COVID. Please help send video link to Twitter DMs. Please help send video link to Twitter DMs. All right. Let me see what I can do. You're telling me this is for another vet? I'm going to see what I can do. Let me see what I can do. Okay. I'll do it like this. I'm going to look for your Twitter DM. All right. So this is what he sent me. Comment if you can help. New messages. This is what he sent me. Okay, it's 40 minutes. I'm not doing the whole 40 minutes. Is there a link here?
His wife back in the United States for some time now, and it's been really a travesty and a spit in the face to everyone that served. And as soon as I figured that out, like the first thing I did was text Dale. I was like, "Hey, we can do the thing where you tell your story. We can pin it to the top." And then the idea is that if anyone out of because most people watch a very small percentage.
I'm not watching this whole thing.
Actually, comment or get involved. I figured, just because I don't know anyone doesn't mean that people aren't watching this. So I figured if anyone watching this knows anyone or anything, I think no lead is too small. That could help Dale and his predicament. Please comment. You can email me, Tommy's Podcast, TOMMYSPODCAST @gmail.com. I can forward it to Dale or just comment and I'll check the comments. But I'm going to keep this pinned at the top of the podcast profile. And just so if anyone's watching, you have never commented and you do know someone, now is the time to comment. But this podcast doesn't involve me. This is Dale just telling the story. And if anyone watching, again, if you know anyone, a lawyer or an expert or whatever, anyone that could help Dale, please comment. So Dale, take it away.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for doing this, Tommy. Yeah, so let me kind of give you a little backstory. So I'm in Bali right now. My wife is Indonesian. We've lived in Bali now for 6 years. We've actually lived in Indonesia for almost 9 years total. And my wife and I wanted to get married, so we went through the whole marriage process, getting the visa, the Form 129, 130, blah blah blah. So we finally got the visa, which was no easy task. Let me start by saying that. They make it very, very difficult. We had everything, checked all the blocks. In fact, there were on more than one occasion, my wife went to the embassy with all the proper documentation. We actually had third party fill everything out for us, paid the money. And just for her to sit down and the woman look at it and just say, denied, go do it again, without any explanation, right? So it started like that. Finally, we got it through. We got her over the finish line. She got a 5-year unlimited entry visa. we came to the United States. We got married. We stayed for a while and then we left. We've been in and out of country several times. We have a home in Florida. And then during March of 2021, basically the height of the COVID scam-demic, my wife and I flew back in March of that year to go to an event for 3
I'm just going to say, he's not a medical expert. I'm not a medical expert. Don't take medical advice from me or anything I'm watching here.
weeks. In fact, a mutual friend invited me and her to come there, right, for the shooting event. Remember when you did that? And so we got back 3 weeks. All of a sudden, all the COVID restrictions kicked in. The flight restrictions, couldn't get back to Indonesia, couldn't do anything. And so we ended up getting delayed going back. So now we're not here for 3 weeks. It's turned into 3 months, then it's 6 months. And then after 6 months, going on just a little bit further, my wife was a passenger in a vehicle one night around 10:30. I'm in Panama City Beach in the turning lane as a passenger sitting there, no traffic on the road or anything. And out of nowhere, an undercover police car, a sheriff's deputy car, was chasing, I think my wife described it as a Camaro or a Corvette, right? Sports car. She just felt a rush of wind go by the car, and the car kind of rocked, and she's like, what the heck? And almost instantly right after it, just a huge explosion. So what it was this sports car was eluding this undercover police car. It was a high-speed chase. And the car being chased deliberately went down the center lane, right? Masked her car, and at the last second swerved, and the police officer didn't see it and literally rear-ended her car at 90 miles an hour. All this has been captured on video, police dash cam, the local bars have all this, right? Destroyed these cars. You can just imagine what would happen if a car get hit at 90 miles an hour. So they all ended up in an emergency room. Then my wife went through physical therapy after that. And while she was going through the physical therapy, they determined.
I'm going to incorporate a link to this in my description. Those of you who want to watch more of it, I can't spend. I have a lot of topics that I plan on covering today, so I don't think it's fair for me to. I was hoping that he would encapsulate it a lot quicker, but I am going to include a link. I'm going to put it right above my links. Link to Tommy podcast. Okay, that is now in YouTube, and I'm going to put it in my Rumble as well. Okay, so anyone who comes now, if you want to refresh and find that yourself, you're welcome to find it. Okay. It's time to vote and get one of those mail-in jobs. I'm not sure which mail-in. I'm confused. Follower 0.08 checking in. What snack goes best with Kool-Aid while wearing... How would I know? How would I know? These are foreign things to me. These are very, very foreign things to me. Very, very foreign. A lot of people keep misspelling Governor Wretched Whitlis's name. I don't know. I thought Joe passed a while back, and what would have been seen as Black Magic reanimated version. Who'd have think? Okay, a lot of people thought he passed. When I first started reading that, I was thinking about my 100,000. This is pretty funny. You remember how the other day I was talking about asking people to sub up and join? Because when I first thought this, I thought you were referring to me passing 100,000. Then I realized you were talking about Biden passing. Remember? So at the time, I was 98,750. I was at 98,750. I made a big push. Everyone sign up. And during the course of the show, I got all the way up to 98,764 or something like that. It was very exciting for me. I was hoping I could cross the 98,770 threshold. That was the goal. Not to be. That's okay. It's going to come. I know it's going to come. So you might be saying, Joe, how's it going? Where are you at now? Oh, I'm glad you asked. So I finished that show, I think, at 98,764. And now, oh, I'm back at 98,750. Yeah, there you go. Welcome to my world. Welcome to my world. So, yeah, YouTube, you can suck it. Just saying. And if you're here and you can hit the like and subscribe, kudos to you. 98,750. I don't know where they went. I don't know where they went. I'm sure they don't know that they went. The people got unsubbed. And I'm sure they don't know that they left. But there you go. 98,750. Suck it, YouTube. You suck. No. It's like not possible. It's not possible. Maybe that would explain it. That would explain it. Yeah, I like this. What's YouTube? Some commie platform. There you go. People in Rumble get it. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much. Hillary launched a new website today. I tweeted it to you. Facelift and that's pretty funny. All right. So let me check on where my. I wanted to check on where my poll was at. Where is my poll at? Wow. Almost 2/3 of you think that he's not going to make it. I'm going to leave that poll up a little while longer. All right. I said I was going to jump next to the motion to have to remove or have Judge Glanville recused moving down to Fulton County, where the YSL trial is still ongoing. And Judge Glanville, the one who issued contempt order for attorney Brian Steele, is facing motions to have him removed. A lot of people told me that I need to check this out. I have not checked it yet. We will check it together right now. In the Superior Court of Fulton County, we're going to try and do this a little quick. So, you know what? Let's do it with I don't know how. I want to do this a little differently. Let's do this with me being able to draw it up. Give me a second. Open. Download PDF. Was that not working? Okay, here we go. All right, Superior Court of Fulton County. Let's do it this way. State of Georgia, Jeffrey Williams, Judge Glanville, defendant, motion to disqualify, recuse Judge Glanville from all further dealings with the above referenced case. Comes now, Jeffrey Williams, by and through undersigned counsel, hereby files this motion to disqualify, recuse Judge Glanville from all further dealings in the above referenced case, and give me my freaking mistrial already. Undersigned counsel represents Mr. Jeffrey Williams in the above referenced case. So it's his motion. Jury trial of multiple accused persons commenced January 4, 2023. Let's bear in mind, that's 5 months now before Judge Glanville. The trial is expected to last at least through the end of 2024 calendar year. My God. On Monday, June 10th, within 5 days of the filing of this timely motion, this court, along with the prosecutors, engaged in unlawful, improper, ex parte meeting with, among other persons, a sworn witness, Kenneth Copeland, for whom an order of use immunity had been issued. So they had issued an order of use immunity on Friday, June 7, 2024. No notice This is key. There was no notice of this ex parte meeting that was provided to any attorney for any of the criminally accused in this case. In fact, the accusing counsel were in the dark that this Star Chamber meeting occurred. Mr. Copeland had previously been called to testify on Friday, asserting a Fifth Amendment privilege in open court in front of the jury, was held in contempt and summarily incarcerated until such time as he agreed to testify pursuant to the grant of use immunity. So, Judge Glanville and the prosecutors essentially admitted by silence and by statements in open court that ex parte meeting occurred on the morning of June 10, 2024, only after undersigned counsel revealed, based upon information belief, that this impermissible meeting occurred. At the earliest opportunity on the afternoon of June 10th, the court was informed, based upon information belief, that the ex parte meeting with the sworn witness, Kenneth Copeland, in prosecution occurred earlier that day, that the witness had made factual admissions, and that statements were made to the witness by the court and the prosecutors. After he makes factual admissions, there were statements made that the court and prosecutor are acting in concert. That's never supposed to happen, that they were acting in concert together. That is a part of the problem here. It's not simply the malfeasance or at best misfeasance with respect to the notifications, keeping them in the dark. It becomes malfeasance when the court is working together with the prosecutor. That's what makes it so egregious. About the amount of time for Ms. Copeland would be held in custody of the contempt. The court denied undersigned counsel's request for the transcript of the ex parte meeting and denied the timely motion for mistrial based upon this improper and illegal ex parte meeting, which violated Mr. Williams' constitutional and statutory rights. That alone, the denial of all of this would be bad enough, including the right to due process, fair trial, fair tribunal, ethical prosecutors, and the right to be present at every critical stage. Every critical stage of the proceedings. Uniform Superior Court, excuse me. Rule 4.1 in Georgia Code Judicial Content 2.9 delineate rules governing ex parte communications. Uniform Superior Rule generally prohibits ex parte communications except as authorized by law or by rule. Judges shall neither initiate nor consider ex parte communications by interested parties or their attorneys concerning a pending or impending proceeding. Ex parte hearings are only authorized in the case of extraordinary matters, such as TRO and temporary injunctions. In other judicial hearings, both parties should be notified of the hearing with an opportunity of attending, voicing any objection that may be properly registered. Judicial Conduct 2.9, assuring fair hearing, says judges shall accord to every person who has a legal interest in proceeding or that person's lawyer the right to be heard. According to law, judges shall not initiate, permit, or consider ex parte communications or consider other communications made to them outside of the presence of parties or their lawyers concerning a pending proceeding or impending matter, subject to the following exceptions. And here are the exceptions. Where circumstances require ex parte communications are authorized for scheduling, administrative purposes, meaning inconsequential stuff, or emergencies, stuff that don't deal with substantive matters, do not deal. And the whole point to that is that no party will gain. You have to believe that no party is going to gain. Over here, there certainly seems to be a gain to the prosecution. And also, the judge makes provision promptly to notify all other parties of the subsequent ex parte. So first, you have to make sure the only time you get an ex parte is if it's something that's inconsequential, no party is getting a gain, and you tell the other side afterwards. Look at how this is complete violation of all three of those elements. There's three elements. I want you to count them off with me here. It cannot be substantive. No party is supposed to have a gain, and you're supposed to notify all all adverse parties afterwards. This was substantive. There was a gain to the prosecutor, and not only did he not tell them, he threw people in contempt for not telling him how they found out. Judges may obtain the advice of a disinterested expert on the law applicable to the proceeding before the court if they give notice to the parties, which that's not relevant. If it's a disinterested expert, no one cares. And judges may consult court staff and court officials whose functions are to aid and carry out adjudicated responsibilities, or with other judges. But this is a witness. Doesn't apply. None of that applies. Judges may, with the consent of the parties, confer separately with the parties or lawyers in an effort to mediate or settle. But you have to ask them to get consent, and it wouldn't be with a witness, it would be with a party. Judges may initiate, permit, or consider ex parte communications when authorized by law to do so, such as when issuing a TR, a temporary protective order, or arrest warrant, or search warrant. This court violated USCR 4.1 and Georgia Code of Judicial Conduct 2.9. Court has joined the prosecutor's team and is biased against Mr. Williams and favorable to the prosecutors, as objectively demonstrated on June 10th, as well as throughout the pendency of this case. Trial court rejected our substantive request for information about the unlawful ex parte meeting, and the court denied underside counsel's motion for a mistrial. Instead, the court stunningly demanded to know how understand counsel came into possession of the information about the ex parte meeting. The prosecutor stunningly sat mute and permitted this injustice to occur for the court to attempt to intimidate undersigned counsel. Later, Love, a lawyer currently employed with the Fulton County DA's office, argued that the ex parte hearing with the witness Copeland was ethical, just, and proper. Well, not legal, but ethical, just, and proper. The other prosecutor still remained mute. Undersigned counsel declined to join the antics in ignoring rules and ethical provisions and declined to provide information requested by the court, relying on State Bar Rule of Professional Conduct 1.6, which states in pertinent part that the lawyer is supposed to maintain confidence of all information gained in the professional relationship of a client. In comment to Rule 5, Comment 5 to Rule 1.6 says, we'll focus on the bold part. The attorney-client privilege applies in judicial and other proceedings in which a lawyer may be called as a witness or otherwise required to produce evidence concerning a client. Still applies. See, I was supposed to give evidence. He wanted information from me. The rule of client confidentiality applies in situations other than those where evidence is sought from the lawyer through compulsion of law. It works even if the judge is asking about it. Rule 1.6 applies not merely to matters communicated in confidence by the client. Doesn't have to be that he told me something, but also to all information gained in the professional relationship, whatever its source. It's as if he told me. A lawyer may not disclose such information except as authorized or required by the Georgia Rules of Professional Conduct or other law. I was following the rules of conduct. Why wasn't the judge? I was following them when I disobeyed him. This judge is so gone. He's so gone. He's so gone. He is so gone. The court ignored the ethical rules relied upon and continued to demand undersigned counsel reveal the source of information, claiming that the way the undersigned counsel obtained the information was somehow unlawful, and baselessly accused undersigned counsel on the record of potentially acquiring the information through eavesdropping. In response to the specious accusations and the impermissible demands of the court, undersigned counsel relied on the ethical mandates of Rule 1.6 and Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, declined to provide the source of information which had been proffered. The court is so biased against undersigned counsel and or Mr. Williams, the court ignored all laws, and pursued contempt penalties to attempt to intimidate undersigned counsel to violate the law and ethics in order to continue to help the prosecution convict Mr. Williams and all others. The court issued a written order of contempt and incarceration for Brian Steele, imposing maximum sentence of incarceration of 20 days. When they say maximum sentence, because that's all he could get. He could have given him 2 days. He gave the maximums. He's not allowed to give more than 20 days. And that's what he gave him, 20 days, spaced out 2 days every weekend for the next 10 weekends. That way enabling him to appear in court for trial. Supreme Court of Georgia has granted a writ of certiorari to address the appeal of the contempt order. Ooh. and has granted undersigned counsel a supersedious bond. Oh, that's very interesting. That is very interesting. So apparently he filed a bond and doesn't have to go to court. Doesn't have to go to jail on the weekends. That's good. Court violated the law by failing its duty to recuse from presiding over this contempt proceeding. In such proceedings where the announcement of punishment is delayed and where the contumacious conduct was directed toward the judge, where the judge reacted to the contumacious conduct in such a manner as to become involved in the controversy, the judge may give the attorney notice of specific charges, but the hearing, including the attorney's opportunity to be heard, must be conducted by another judge. Here, the court involved itself in these proceedings by joining the prosecution team and conducting an ex parte meeting that violated Williams' rights. This created a conflict of interest for the court because its own unethical conduct is questioned and at the heart of the issue. You got to worry about the lack of ethics of the judge. That's what's at issue here. That cannot be decided by the judge himself. You cannot stand in judgment over yourself in a court of law in any of the 50 states we got. I don't know, maybe in the 51st state of Ukraine that works, but that doesn't work here. It doesn't work in Georgia. The court then compounded its abuse of power by presiding over the very contempt hearing where its own rules violations prompted the controversy. The court should have recused and allowed the contempt proceedings to be handled by a separate court. Further, the prosecutors sat mute and permitted the court to attempt to interrogate and intimidate another member of the bar who reported a violation of law, and also promoted the court's wrongful conduct by asserting that the ex parte meeting was proper. I wonder if he's bringing up the muteness of the prosecutors as a basis to say that we should get a mistrial and dismiss of all charges. Because we're going to have a mistrial here, and this is all, what it seems like it's setting up. Without going further, again, I'm reading this for the first time with you guys. It seems as if he's setting up, even if it's not in this application, but in future applications, once a mistrial is granted, he's laying foundation here. This is a very shrewd attorney, Brian Steele. This guy is really smart. He's aces. Unbelievable. Not just ballsy, but he's a smart attorney. He's laying foundation here to say that the mistrial was in part caused not just by some rogue judge, but by the failures of the prosecution. Now, the prosecution has failed in a myriad of different ways here and leading to what is almost certainly going to be a mistrial. They never should have brought this guy in there, never should have joined with the judge in pressuring them, never should have tried hiding all of this from the defense attorneys. And now the next piece that Brian Steele is identifying here is they know what the judge is allowed to do and not allowed to do. They should have urged the judge to play by the rules. Once they saw he's being called on it, rather than sitting by while he's punishing someone and breaching the rules even further. So they're enabling this mistrial to happen. And their actions that further enable a mistrial are a basis, at least according to what Steve Gosney was telling me, it's a further strengthening a basis to say that not only should be a mistrial and not a do-over, but adios to these charges altogether. He's a very shrewd attorney. The court denied Mr. Williams an undersigned counsel their due process rights. His undersigned counsel has a right to adequate notice and be heard, call witnesses at a hearing, and be represented by counsel for the entirety of the contempt proceeding. And Mr. Williams has the right to learn of all facts and circumstances of this critical stage of the proceeding that occurred in his absence ex parte. The court abused its authority by holding undersigned counsel in contempt for refusing to divulge privileged information, for protecting Mr. Williams' constitutional rights to due process, right to a fair tribunal, right to a fair trial, right to be present and effective assistance of counsel. This court's refusal to acknowledge these rights and protections has created an unfair tribunal based upon his bias against Mr. Williams and or his counsel and favoritism to the prosecutors. Motion to disqualify recused Judge Glanville is timely filed as Uniform Superior Court Rule 25.1 mandates that the time for filing motion to recuse shall be not later than 5 days after the affiant first learned the grounds for disqualifications. So you have to move within 5 days, and his point is we got under that wire. The Honorable Supreme Court of Georgia has taught that a motion to recuse is timely filed under U.S. CR 25.1 if it is filed within 5 days. After you first learn of the alleged grounds, and over here, everything first happened 5 days ago. This was first learned of on Monday, June 10th. And they followed this on the 15th. The record also reveals numerous instances during trial when the judge's behavior appears to have been biased against Mr. Williams' counsel and partial in favor of the state. The record reveals other instances too. When the trial court wrongly berated counsel in front of the jury. After a number of such incidents, Mr. Williams' counsel, out of jury's presence, moved for the trial judge's recusal and sought a mistrial on grounds that the judge had shown a lack of objectivity, has displayed his bias against Mr. Williams' counsel and assisted the prosecutors in making their case before the jury. Judges have an ethical duty to disqualify themselves from any matter in which they have a personal bias or prejudice concerning a party or an attorney appearing before them. In this regard, a trial judge, quote, shall avoid all impropriety and appearance of impropriety. Code of Judicial Conduct provides that judges should disqualify themselves in a proceeding in which their impartiality might reasonably be questioned, including, but not limited to, instances where the judge has a personal bias or a prejudice concerning a party or party's lawyer. Within the context of this requirement, the word should means shall. Should, in this context, means shall. Shall means mandatory, as opposed to may. I'm not sure how he knows that. Because should does not always mean shall. He's referring to this here. Judges should disqualify themselves in a proceeding in which their impartiality. So this word here, should, is kind of judges should disqualify themselves. All right. The Supreme Court is mindful of the extraordinary pressures attending criminal trials. Magnitude, on the one hand, defense counsel is obligated to vigorously defend his client against all charges brought by the state. Likewise, prosecutors must effectively and ethically present the state's case to a jury. And at the same time, the judge is charged with ensuring the rules of evidence and procedure are followed. Proceedings are both orderly, ethical, and fair. Okay, and the several interests come together in the courtroom during trial. Disagreements between the bench and bar to be expected. The instances discussed above and in the attached Exhibit B, joint affidavit, however, represent more than mere friction between zealous counsel and diligent jurist. The judge's conduct, as discussed above and herein, creating the impression that he harbored an inclination to be biased against Mr. Williams and his counsel, and partial toward the prosecution. Higher courts need not decide whether such bias and impartiality actually existed, because judges are ethically bound to disqualify themselves whenever their impartiality might reasonably be questioned. You got to remove yourself if there's a reason to say that you might be that your impartiality is questioned. And I know there's a lot of typos here where he seems to miss his space. I'm giving him a pass on this because he had a lot of work to do very quickly. So that's a common thing. Including instances where the judge's behavior could indicate that he has a personal bias in concerning a party or a party's lawyer. As explained, the trial judge in this case participated in ex parte communications with the prosecutor, in which he assisted the state. He didn't just participate and conduct them. He assisted the state to influence a witness to testify against Mr. Williams. These actions certainly raised reasonable questions concerning the judge's partiality and bias. Because the judge's impartiality is reasonably questionable, it is error to deny Mr. Williams' motion for recusal. In other words, whenever there's a reasonability behind those who are questioning the partiality, that right there, boom, done, end of the judge. There has to be reasonableness to questioning his impartiality. Once you establish that, you don't need to show that he's being impartial. You just need to show that it looks to anyone who's looking at this as if it's impartial. Because we don't like having our courtrooms stink of a flavor of partiality. Our highest court has set forth at least 3 circumstances in which recusal of court is necessary on the ground of mere appearance of bias, even the absence of evidence of actual bias. So you don't need to have actual bias. You just need to have this appearance right here. You just need the appearance. Mr. Williams does not waive that actual bias has been subjectively shown throughout trial as well as on June 10th, but for simplicity, the appearance of bias is also met. 2 of these circumstances arise in the case at bar. The third circumstance, in which a recusal is required on the grounds of mere appearance of bias, absent evidence of actual bias, is when a judge has a direct personal substantial pecuniary interest in reaching a conclusion based upon information and belief. This circumstance is not applicable to the case at bar. First, mere appearance of bias. Mere appearance of bias requires recusal of a judge when the judge becomes embroiled in controversy with one of the litigants. As shown in Exhibit B attached here too, the court favors the prosecution as attempting to sabotage the defense. Georgia courts have filed this demand for recusal when the judge becomes embroiled in controversy. In Ray Adams, in Ray Schoolcraft, what are these cases here? The first one's saying that a judge cannot be both prosecutor as well as the judge. Another case where the judge became involved in the controversy. And finally, in Ray Schoolcraft, where the trial judge became involved in the controversy as he necessarily applied his impressions from a prior bond hearing. So when you have your impressions from a prior bond hearing, so you're letting your thoughts about the guy affect your judgment. Second, due process requires recusal of the judge when the judge takes a role in the accusatory process. In Ray Murchison, highest court explained that the Constitution prohibits a scenario where a judge orders a witness to appear before him/her in order for the judge to gather facts. So as soon as he asked me to give over information, boom, he was gone. To gather facts, determine whether contempt proceedings should occur. As soon as he followed that motion, that crazy motion of his, whether he should be holding people in contempt, and he's going on a fact-finding mission as to where the leak came from, boom, he's out. And then the same judge presides over the contempt trial. So what's he doing there? Think about what happened. He files a motion of his own. It wasn't the prosecutor file a motion. He files a motion, and now I'm going to preside over that motion. So he's serving in a dual role that we have separation of powers for that. The state is supposed to be the one who's prosecuting. Why is he the one commencing this investigation and then overseeing it? If he wants to take that role because he feels like he was violated, arguably he could do that, but he would have to bring it before another judge, not start overseeing it himself and say, come back here before me. This is because such a judge-grand jury arrangement causes a judge to become part of the accusatory process, and thus the judge must be recused from further dealings on the case. Here, Judge Glanville has ordered Mr. Copeland's lawyer and others to appear, give information on contempt proceeding. Same is against the law. Importantly, a trial judge has the duty to recuse itself sua sponte, on the spot, of its own volition, from any proceedings in which the judge's impartiality might reasonably be questioned, including instances where the judge has a personal bias or a prejudice concerning a party. The phrase impartiality might reasonably be questioned. This primary phrase here, impartiality might reasonably question, means the existence of an objective, reasonable perception, an objectively reasonable perception of lack of impartiality by the judge. It's a subjective test that anyone who looks at this would be would say there's a reasonable perception. I'm not sure this guy's being fair. Held by a fair-minded and impartial person based upon the objective factor and reasonable inference. To warrant recusal, the alleged bias must be of such a nature and intensity to prevent the complaining party from obtaining a trial uninfluenced by the judge's prejudgment. To warrant disqualification of the trial judge, the affidavit in support of the motion seeking same must support the charge of a bent of mind that may prevent or impede the impartiality of the judge. Recusal is objectively required when the judge serves both as the accuser and the adjudicator in the case. In the case of Barr, the court met ex parte with prosecutors and a sworn witness, Copeland. He did that. Never intended to reveal it, which is astonishing to any defense counsels. The court has become part of the executive branch, prosecuting Mr. Williams. Moreover, prosecutors have abandoned and violated their ethical duties by engaging in this ex parte meetings and sitting silent when the court held undersigned counsel in contempt and failed to reveal any Brady evidence from the meeting, including the fact that this meeting occurred. According to the prosecutors, should not be working together. Should not be working together. Back off. But they are. Teaming up to gain an unlawful advantage over Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams' trial is constitutionally fractured, unfair, and lacks all constitutional, statutory, and ethical safeguards and protections of due process of law. The court is biased against the accused and his counsel. No intellectually honest person could believe that coercing witness Copeland to testify in a Star Chamber setting meets constitutional muster. It's true. You can't come to a conclusion that seems fair. There's no way that reads as being fair. Just doesn't. Didn't DA Love say she requested the ex parte meeting? He granted it, though. Why isn't anyone calling out that weaselly action? We'll see. I think she did make reference to that. And that would be a basis to try saying that not just a mistrial, but removal of charges. This is not Steele's motion. Oh, this is Tommy's motion? Is that what this is? Still, it's a good motion. I don't know who wrote this. It's Keith Adams. Oh, it's Brian Steele. This is Brian Steele's motion. I think you're mistaken, Allegan. Can the lawyer sue the judge for unnecessary hours his client had to pay due to awaiting a mistrial? Good luck. No. That's why the process is the punishment. On a motion to disqualify or recuse, it's due the judge to pass only the legal sufficiency of the facts alleged and to ask whether these facts support a charge of bias or prejudice. Neither the truth of the allegations nor the good faith of the pleader may be questioned regardless of the judge's personal knowledge of controversy. The test is whether, assuming the truth of the facts alleged in the affidavit, a reasonable person would conclude a bias exists on the part of the judge. On the part of the judge. So this is a very critical point here, because it's not a matter of judge. You remember yesterday or 2 days ago? Sorry, I took yesterday off just because I wasn't feeling it last night. 2 nights ago, when I was reviewing a motion that was filed by Fannie Willis to try and circumvent the appeal in the other RICO case, And I talked to you about the fact that the distinction between questions of fact and questions of law. And I was saying how, Fannie Willis was pounding the drum over and over again, how the appellate court's not allowed to disturb findings of fact. And I agreed with that. And I said, everyone knows that. The appellate court certainly knows that. She's not introducing anything novel or new. And everyone agrees with that. The question is whether these facts justify the legal conclusions or not. Well, I bring this up to you because the point that he's making here is that the question of the facts, what the facts are, and reach a conclusion as to whether the findings of fact are accurate, it's not a relevant question for Judge Glanville to decide. He simply has to see that if these facts are true, pretend I don't know anything about these facts. If these facts were true, would this be something that is legally sufficient to say that a judge should be removed? Even though I know these facts are false, I have to now leave this over to a different judge to determine whether or not these facts are true or false. Let me say that one more time because it's a little confusing. Once the pleadings meet a basic standard, a minimum threshold standard, that if true, it would warrant removal of a judge, then the judge who was involved can no longer look at it and say, but they're all false. You have to assume that for the moment, take a moment and pretend that they're all true, whether or not they are, which you and I saw. We don't know they're true. But he's refuting that. So he has to pretend they were true, whether or not they are, and then say, if this taken as a group is true, would that justify removing me as a judge? If so, I now have to take this whole bunch of facts and let that be turned over to a different judge. I can't just say, well, I know these facts are wrong, because then you're sitting in judgment over your own situation. We never allow that. So that's why he says the test is whether, assuming the truth of the facts allegedly attached in the affidavit, a reasonable person would conclude bias exists on the part of the judge, that you have to now pass on the legal sufficiency. You have to now, you can't say, well, I know it. You can't weigh in and say, I know these facts are not true. This court's conduct raises a strong finding that has become personally involved in the case. It's clear, even a casual observer, the court's involvement in controversy requires the court to be disqualified, recused, and removed from all further proceedings in the above referenced case instance. And another judge who will duly exercise the powers of the judicial branch with partiality, clarity, and fairness must be appointed to this case. I think he means with impartiality, not partiality. It's critical to the functioning of our courts. Public believe in the absolute integrity and impartiality of judges. The judicial record, the Georgia Court of Judicial Conduct mandates that a judge must disqualify himself. You must disqualify yourself in any proceeding which the judge's impartiality may be reasonably questioned. It's getting a little repetitive, no? It's feeling a little repetitive. Motion to disqualify, recuse Judge Glanville, accompanied by attached affidavit, mandates that Judge Glanville shall immediately cease to act upon any matters involved in the state of Georgia, shall immediately determine the timeliness of motion and legal sufficiency, and assuming that any other all facts alleging the affidavit be true, whether recusal should be warranted if it is found that this motion is timely filed, and that the recusal will be authorized if some or all the facts set forth in the affidavit are true, Glanville must cease from any further contact with this case, and another judge shall be assigned to hear this motion. You can't weigh on this motion. That's up to another judge to the motion to disqualify or recuse Judge Glanville. Glanville cannot in any way oppose this motion. Really? That's interesting. He can't submit his own statement of facts? It's an interesting take. The attached joint affidavit clearly set forth as facts and reasons for the belief that bias and prejudice exist on the part of the judge. Allegations in the attached affidavit are not just bare conclusions and opinions, but are facts. And that's why it mandates that he be removed. I want to get down. Nice. See, this is further. This indictment must be dismissed. This is where he wanted to go. A mistrial granted based upon the court's and prosecution's continued misconduct, as shown in Exhibit B, attached here too, constitutionally required fair trial occurring before a fair tribunal with ethical prosecutors has been violated. So now he's trying to get this case thrown out altogether. Not just mistrial do-over, but adios to this case altogether. This includes, but not limited to, witness intimidation. See, for example, United States versus McCloskey, or V. Linder, or U.S. v. Morrison, or U.S. v. Golding. Glanville lawyers, Judge Glanville, lawyers for the state, Love and Hilton, will be called as witnesses at trial for the jury to understand this ex parte meeting and determine demeanor and credibility. You're all taking the stand now. Additionally, Mr. Williams demands all ex parte meetings be disclosed instanter. This sounds like I thought it was a typo before because he's had a couple of typos. But I'm wondering now if this is a legal term that is more common in Georgia than it is in New York. It sounds like it's in place of instantly. But instanter is not a term that I've seen used. That's a new one for me. Instanter. Try and find that one. In order to properly reveal the full extent of all violations of law and ethics. Again, lawyers for the state, Love and Hilton, and Judge Glanville are necessary witnesses at this hearing and trial to determine the correctness of the motion for mistrial goaded by conduct of these parties and judge. Wherefore, based on above and the attached affidavit, if Judge Glanville does not immediately recuse from any offer of this case, this motion must be set down before another judge. We don't want to see you decide this. This has to be decided by another judge. Determine why Judge Glanville can continue to serve as judge in this case. Further, mistrial must be granted based upon these judicial and prosecution violations of law and ethics. Since Brian Steele, let's check out the affidavits because this should be juicy. So here's the order of incarceration for Brian Steele. We don't need to look at that. We've seen this already. We want to get to the affidavit. Show me the money. Here we go. Joint affidavit of Brian Steele and Keith Adams. This is another thing that's new for me. I've never done a joint affidavit before. You might have two people sign identical affidavits with only a change for their name. But a joint affidavit, I mean, we're both swearing to this. I guess it works. Save some paper. Not that it's actually paper anymore, but yeah, saves, I guess, some ink. All right. So we are counsel for Jeffrey Williams in the above-style case. On Monday, June 10th and thereafter, affiants learned the following events, in fact, occurred outside Mr. Williams' presence and outside of affiant's presence and in a star chamber-like environment. Here we go. We're going to learn now what happened, what they know so far. On Monday, June 10, 2024, undersigned affiants, specifically Brian Steele, asked to have a transcript of whatever conversations were memorialized, and affiants requested the actual recording of anything discussed at this improper in-chambers meeting on said date. I'm going to have to switch from my underline into a highlight. I think, yeah, that's how we're going to do it. This court has obstructed Mr. Williams and below affiants from having an exact image of what was said. This obstruction alone shows that this court is biased. Back. As there is absolutely, let's undo that. I don't want that. As there's absolutely, it shows that this court is biased, as there's absolutely no privilege in communications in this court's chambers, as this court argued in June 10, 2024, and there's certainly no attorney-client privilege under any stretch of the imagination, as this court asserted. There's no attorney-client privilege with the witness, Kenneth Copeland. This obstructionist conduct by this court shows bias, and that this court is intrinsically intertwined in the facts of this case and has prevented Mr. Williams from due process, fair trial, effective assistance of counsel, right to know every material and critical happenings in his case. Further, this court, by its words used on the record when speaking in open court with affiants, as well as the court's silence, as well as lawyer Love's statements in open court, clearly demonstrate that the facts below are true and accurate. This is what we know based on what we've seen so far. The court has also silenced witnesses by improperly issuing a show cause order for contempt, and thus making all witnesses in fear of going to jail if the truth is told about this improper violation of Mr. Williams' constitutional right to be present at every stage, critical stages, trial, fair tribunal, etc. Due process on the law to make a record on the case. This court is biased, must be recused. Further, the cross-examination of Mr. Copeland will include facts that occur at this Star Chamber meeting, which puts the credibility of lawyer Love, lawyer Hilton, this court, and issue of this, an issue, really is at issue. And this court should never be the person who's in charge of the jury when the court's conduct is being questioned based upon the courts and lawyers for the states of Georgia's actions. Mr. Williams has been put into a trick box by the misconduct of lawyer Love, lawyer Hilton, and this court. This court must be recused, a mistrial declared, barred by double jeopardy based upon the prosecutorial misconduct and judicial misconduct. Mr. Kenneth Copeland, a witness who had been called by the state and sworn on Friday, June 10th, and invoked the Fifth Amendment and was held in civil contempt by this court, was brought to the Fulton County Courthouse on Monday morning, June 10th. So this is what we. Let's get to the factual stuff here. So he's brought. So what happens is he's brought to the courthouse on Monday, June 10th. Unbeknownst to the affiants, Mr. Williams or anyone else on the defense side of the case, this court met in chambers with Copeland, his counsel, lawyer Love, and Hilton, and Times court reporter Weaver, as well as sheriff deputies and other persons. Deputies may have been instructed to turn off their body cameras. That sounds sus. Doesn't that sound sus? Does that not sound sus to you? Sounds sus to me. This is why we're doing this. This is why we're doing this. I think I will be. Wokeness has already convinced many Americans a man can be a woman just by identifying as one. What's reasonable has gone out the window long ago. Touche. Fair enough. It's a fair point. Just want to do a quick check from the ghetto. In the ghetto. Hillary Clinton wears those, just saying. Oh, that was the pantsuit. But no one else does. It's like almost like it's her thing. It's her thing. All right. There was and is nothing privileged on the law about this improper ex parte meeting. This court and others met with Mr. Copeland for a lengthy period of time. Total ex parte meeting lasted more than 1 hour, approximately 2 hours, with the above named people at the meeting at all or various times. Copeland continued to make known his assertion that he would not testify even in the face of being held in contempt and ordered to testify under use immunity. This court lawyer for the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, Love and Hilton, ignored Copeland's decision and continued to declare to Mr. Copeland that he would be held in custody until he testifies, or alternatively, if he persists in refusing to testify, he would be held in custody until not only Mr. Williams' current trial resolves, but until all 26 indicted person cases are resolved, whichever is longer. Unbelievable. This sounds like it'd be like 5 years. This court was a participant and was present during these admissions threats to Mr. Copeland. This is witness intimidation, coercion. So these are all facts that they're laying out. When we're in law school, by the way, when you're in law school, so you sort of learn to highlight. You get your casebook and you highlight, and you'll make different colors that become second nature to you for facts and then the law that's being cited. So over here, and then the conclusion, and this way you can sort of zero in on the case as to the parts that you're looking for when you're reviewing it later on. So over here, what I have in yellow are these claims regarding facts, right? These are all saying what happened. Court was participant, was present during his admonitions to Copeland. Now, this over here is a legal claim that's being made, saying, we'll make this red. This is witness intimidation, coercion, and the court has become a member of the prosecution team. So this part here is like these are all conclusions that they're reaching, not actual facts. Right? That's how you distinguish. This court, lawyers Hilton and Love are now all witnesses in this case and will be called by Mr. Williams and or possibly other accused so the jury can determine demeanor and credibility of what occurred in this in-chamber meeting. Please note that the witness list is hereby amended by this joint affidavit to include... Wow. 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 I didn't even think of this. This is ballsy. To include the court, lawyers Love and Hilton, all other relevant material persons that have information to share with the jury regarding the conduct, words, and actions of this ex parte communication. Dang. Oh my gosh. Let me explain to you the significance of this part right here. Please note that the witness list is hereby amended by this joint affidavit to include the court, lawyers Love and Hilton, all other relevant material persons that have information to share with the jury regarding the conduct, words, and actions at this ex parte communication. What they are saying is this. You know, before the trial, we gave you a witness list. Our witness list just changed. And you know who's on the witness list now that we want to call to the stand to testify in front of the jury? We want to call the judge as a witness in their defense. We want to call the Assistant District Attorney Love and Assistant District Attorney Hilton, and we want to get them on the stand to testify to the jury and explain to them all the different coercive measures that they used to try and get Copeland to testify in order to show that they really didn't have Copeland and they would have Copeland, and to show that Copeland is not testifying truthfully. And this is actually a logical ask, which is another reason that this judge cannot sit on this trial any longer, because he just made himself a witness. Because it makes a lot of sense to say that a jury might be very interested to know that the testimony of Kenneth Copeland has been prodded so aggressively by the court working in concert with the prosecutors. It might help them better assess the credibility of anything that Copeland testifies about. So it helps show if this, I'll tell you right now, this case, Copeland is basically cooked as a witness here. He's cooked as a witness for the state. There's no way he can come in and serve as a witness for the state at this point. They have to strike everything that, if they wanted to clean this up, and I'm not saying it's cleanable, because sometimes that stain, the browning that we have here in this star chamber, as the term is being used, this starfish chamber here has been browned, where it's like, I don't know, you can bleach this thing out. I don't know, you can bleach this out. This is a mess. This is a mess. Because basically, Brian Steele and his co-counsel, Keith, what's his last name? I want to give credit where credit's due. That guy seemed pretty base too. Keith Adams Brian. I'm going to mix this up one day and say Brian Adams and Keith Steele. All right. Brian Steele and Keith Adams are making the very real point that if Copeland is on the stand, you now need to show a jury just how twisted his arm was. And the only way you can actually get to that is you have them testify. This is a great move. And they'd argue, they're like, so now what are we going to do with that? What are we going to do with that? You're going to take the stand now? You're going to take the stand? So I was theorizing, if you're the state, you're Judge Glanville, and you sort of have a come to Jesus moment where you're sort of like, okay, I really effed up over the last 10 days or so. I really made some terrible, terrible, terrible mistakes in the way I handled this case. And we put in 5 months worth of work here. And I'm watching the internet and I'm seeing like, oh my God, everyone thinks that I'm a lunatic. And as I'm thinking about it, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I must have been on some coke binge to actually have come to some of the conclusions in the way I conducted myself. A, with respect to having that ex parte meeting. B, with what happened at that ex parte meeting. C, with failure to tell the defense counsel about it. And D, with respect to threatening to have this guy thrown in contempt of court. And E, with respect to threatening to throw other people in contempt of court. So let's assume he wants to try and clean this up so that they don't have to start all over again or lose this case outright, have it dismissed, mistrial, and then barred based on double jeopardy issues. How would you clean this up? What steps could you take to clean this up? Or let's say an appellate court came in right now, tomorrow, and said, all right, Judge Glanville, put this thing on hold today. No more trial right now. We need to sort out this mess. No more trial. Sort out the mess right now. And I'm sitting on the appellate court in Georgia, and I'm trying to figure out how do we clean this mess up. And I think to myself, oh my God, Judge Glanville really screwed the pooch here. And the stain is, the browning is pretty deeply embedded. I don't want to throw out these 5 months worth of trial against these people who the state feels pretty confident committed all these heinous acts. Let them loose on society. How do we try to fix this thing up? What do we do to fix this thing up? Well, first and foremost, change judges. That's for sure. What about all the testimony that came in here with Copeland and that whole thing? What do we do with that? Perhaps you would have a judge basically explain to the jury what happened here. And say that there was improper conduct, and for that purpose, everything that Copeland said will be stricken from the record, and please disregard everything he testified about. And not force Glanville and also remove Love and Hilton from being able to be involved in this case. Remove both of them from this case. Remove Judge Glanville from this case. Tell the district attorney, find someone else to handle this freaking mess, because those two are out. And basically try to scrub them out from the case and try to reassure the defense that justice has been meted out here because Copeland's not, and then say we're not going to allow Copeland to testify any further, explain to the jury what happened here, and then allow the state to move forward with the rest of its prosecution. And that's basically the best you could do if you were determined to keep this case alive. If you're determined to keep this case alive, that's how I think you would do it. Scrub out all these folks. Scrub out the judge for a new judge. Scrub out these two assistant district attorneys. Scrub out Copeland and his testimony. Tell the jury everything that happened. Move forward with the trial. Or else, I guess, start all over again. But I don't think start all over again is a viable option. I think that's how you can try to salvage this case if you're an appellate court judge. I'm not saying that's what should happen. I'm saying if you're a Georgian appellate court judge interested in salvaging that case, that's how I think that they would do it. You could sort of repair the damaged credibility. Do you guys think that'd be enough? I know that Steve Gosney was like, that's not enough. But I could see an appellate court saying that was enough. Copeland not testify about much of the Houston is saying he lied to cops, allowed him to play all his interviews today. Inconsistent statements. Yeah, I know. I know that his testimony hasn't been very, but I would just get rid of him altogether. I don't know if Copeland is their key witness. If he's their key witness, they're screwed because he's obviously willing to lie in order not to. They have no case. If he is their key witness, if that's really true, they have no case because he's willing to basically go to jail rather than testify. To make that pretty apparent. So, not sure what you're going to do with that. Because he ain't testifying, that guy. And if he does, you have all this testimony from him where he basically admits that he lies all the time. So what are you doing with that? This court provided Mr. Copeland with a written copy of the statute on crimes on perjury, as well as false swearing. And they keep talking about that. This is another factual stuff we're getting back to here. This court provided the Copeland with a written copy of statute on crimes of perjury as well as false swearing. This is no subtle gesture and one that helped the prosecution team to obtain the mission for Mr. Copeland to change his mind and testify. So this is a fact asserted, and this part over here, just to go back through our different color coding, this part here is a conclusion that they're reaching from that fact. That's not the right color. You got the point. Lawyer Love made representations to this court in front of Mr. Copeland and his counsel, sheriff deputies and reporter and others, that Jonathan Melnick, Esquire, counsel for Mr. Copeland, committed misconduct during his representation of Mr. Copeland and was not representing the interests of Mr. Copeland. Melnick was counsel for Copeland, and I thought it was some woman. Wasn't it some woman? These are knowing misrepresentations by Lawyer Love to this court, which Lawyer Love continues to do, which biases this court in favor of the state and against the accuser, lawyers, and other members of the bar. Further, the court permitted Lawyer Love to speak ill of Mr. Copeland's counsel in front of Mr. Copeland, adds to the coercion and intimidation and witness intimidation. So this over here would be a red thing, by the way. These are their conclusions. I don't know that that's maybe. I don't know. The ex parte discussion violated Mr. Williams' constitutional right pursuant to Article 1, Section 1, Paragraph 12 of the Georgia Constitution to be present at every material stage of his trial. Court and Lawyer Love and Hilton speaking with Mr. Copeland, a sworn witness about his testimony and whether he would change his mind and testify, is clearly a critical stage of the proceedings. As asserted in a motion to recuse this court filed on 10:40 p.m. on June 14th, Attorney Bumpus, by her counsel, verified the below facts. These facts are adopted into affiant's affidavit as below. The facts are assertions by Attorney Bumpus as statements of her lawyers. On Monday, June 10th, at approximately 8:30 a.m., Mr. Copeland and his lawyer, Attorney Kayla Bumpus, I thought it was a woman. Yeah, it was Kayla Bumpus. Melnick, I'm not sure who Melnick is then. I guess they're both counsel for him. Were escorted by the court to the court's chambers and conducted an ex parte meeting regarding whether Mr. Copeland would testify. This is where we're getting the goods. This is where we're getting the goods. Because Kayla Bumpus was there. She's telling us what happened. Let's go for it. Those present for the substantive portion of this ex parte meeting were Judge Glanville, Mr. Copeland, Attorney Bumpus, lawyers Love and Hilton, members of the court's security, staff and deputies, 2 investigators from the Fulton County DA's office, and the court reporter. In chambers, this court asked Mr. Copeland whether he was prepared to testify. Copeland announced that he planned to again invoke his Fifth Amendment privilege on the stand. Conversation among the parties ensued regarding Mr. Copeland's understanding of immunity, and Mr. Copeland thought he may testify if he did not invoke his Fifth in certain facts of the case. Once Mr. Copeland learned that he could be held indefinitely by the court if he refused to testify, not just 2 years as he initially believed, Mr. Copeland decided that he would testify. So it's only this is once he learns this at this stage here, he can be held indefinitely. So all of a sudden now we have here this we have here, why is this not doing that? I want to come back to this now. Make this a little in there a second. So what happens is it's only once he learns he can be held indefinitely by the court that's when he decided he would testify. Mr. Copeland added that his testimony would be a lie. So you're going to make me testify? All right. I'm just going to get up there. I'm going to lie. The meeting ended and the parties went to the courtroom. So he told him, I'm going to get up there. You're forcing me to testify. Otherwise, I'll go to jail. I'll get up and testify, but I'm going to lie. Wow. The court never assured that this Brady evidence would be revealed to Mr. Williams or his counsel, and Brady evidence includes the fact that this meeting occurred. Instead, this court takes position that no information about this meeting should have been revealed. No information. No information should be revealed to Mr. Williams, his counsel, or anyone outside the Star Chamber where the same occurred. This shows that the court has become a member of the prosecution team in an effort to thwart Mr. Williams' constitutional right to a fair trial and fair tribunal, due process, and right to be present at each critical stage of the proceedings, right to call witnesses, right to present defense, right to cross-examine witnesses on critical topics, including the facts that this case were discussed with the court during the intimidation of the witness. This court must be recused. See this here. This becomes a nice big red. This court must be recused. The court and prosecution have violated Mr. Williams' rights. Okay, that's supposed to be red. Sorry about that. And the prosecution have violated Mr. Williams' rights, and the indictment must be dismissed and mistrial is declared. On Monday, June 10th, at approximately 1 p.m., once affiants made the above known in open court, the court refused to release the transcript of the ex parte occurrence, held Williams' lawyer in contempt of court, ordered Williams' lawyer to serve a maximum period of time in custody for contempt, all in an attempt to intimidate Mr. Williams and his counsel from understanding and learning about the court and the prosecution's wrongdoing. The court has become a material witness because undersigned counsel has the right for the jury to understand this court met with Copeland and the prosecutors in order to convince Mr. Copeland to testify against Williams, and even was willing to tolerate his admission that he was going to perjure himself on the stand. The improper ex parte meeting on June 10th with sworn witness concerning the witness' willingness or non-willingness to testify in this court, giving a witness a copy of the law of perjury and false statements and discussing facts of the case is unforgivable. This is not an ex parte meeting that the court has had with affiants ever. On the very few occasions that affiants have had an ex parte hearing with this court, affiants announced in open court. We announced in open court. Everyone knew what was happening. They needed to speak with the court ex parte. There was no objection by the prosecution, and the same occurred. Never was a witness involved in these rare ex parte meetings. There's no witnesses. Affiants demand to question this court and the above lawyers to the district attorney's office is how many ex parte hearings they've had. For all we know, they had a whole bunch more. The substance of those meetings, who was present, and the like. Even if just one ex parte meeting occurred, as did on June 10th, this mandates the court has forfeited forfeited their role as an impartial judge and has become a member of the prosecution team, the court must recuse itself. The court, on at least one occasion, has been fed improper ex parte information about facts of this case and a witness statement that his refusal to testify. The court met with a witness and spoke with a witness about the witness' willingness or non-willingness to testify along with the prosecutors, and then held undersigned counsel in contempt when undersigned counsel simply wants to know why he was not notified of this ex parte judicially and ethically prohibited meeting. The court has now placed the lawyer for Mr. Copeland and other unknown persons in a position that they need to come before the court on a date certain to give testimony as to who gave information to affiants concerning the improper June 10th Star Chamber meeting. The court has become the executive branch. That's precisely right. Because it's far more intimidating to Copeland when the judge is sitting there alongside the prosecution. Far more intimidating. Prosecution could have tried doing this with outside the court's presence. Why the hell is Judge Glanville there? Why don't they just talk to him privately? This is something. This is like a key question that I'd love to see Judge Glanville answer. See, why is Love bringing the court into this? Why couldn't they just meet with him? He was already being held in custody. Go down to the jailhouse, sit him down, and walk him through it. The only reason you incorporate the judge into this is because you're hoping that the judge's stature and presence will influence Copeland into testifying. You're using the judge as part of the prosecution team. There's no two ways around it. This court has lost all impartiality. Mr. Williams cannot receive a fair trial, this court being present over the proceedings. The court has falsely and wrongly accused affiant, specifically Brian Steele, of being unprofessional and prepared in front of the jury. Neither claim was close to the truth or was accurate. The prosecutors sat silent as affiant was wrongly and falsely accused of improper conduct. The court has violated every neutrality, impartiality that was sworn to undertake. You're a failure. That's basically what he's saying. You failed. Even knowing that the court has falsely accused Steele of being unprofessional and prepared in front of the jury, the court has refused to instruct the jury to disregard the court's improper comments. This also clearly shows that the court is biased, impartial against Mr. Williams and or his counsel in favor of the state, as no fair judge would not correct such a serious misstatement in front of the jury. It is pretty terrible. The bias of the court is objectively proven. When Copeland took the witness stand on Friday, June 7th, he refused to testify. He was taken into custody by this court. Court knew, as did the prosecution, Copeland would refuse to testify. So you knew he's not going to testify in front of the jury. But the court did not reveal that fact or take any action to stop Mr. Copeland's refusal to testify in front of the jury. Mr. Copeland's refusal to testify in front of the jury prejudiced Mr. Williams a great deal. The jury should have never heard Mr. Copeland exercise his Fifth Amendment right. This court told the courtroom deputies to prohibit the media from filming Mr. Copeland if and when the court ordered him to be arrested. This direction occurred before Mr. Copeland even took the witness stand on Friday. The court was harmed by Mr. Williams, has harmed Mr. Williams by hiding this information from Mr. Williams. Why is this doing this? It's cut off. Hides information from Mr. Williams. Having ex-parte communications with deputy and media and permits Mr. Copeland to assert his Fifth Amendment right in front of the jury. When the Honorable David Botts, Esquire, brought to the court's attention that he had evidence that the prosecution, look at where we got here, knew that Mr. Copeland was going to invoke his Fifth Amendment right in front of the jury, this court refused to have a hearing to determine whether the prosecution knew that the witness would invoke his right to remain silent and refuse to testify. Instead, the court had a problem with Attorney Botts. Why would you have a problem with Attorney Botts for that? Why is that on him? Instead, they said, "Oh, I got a problem with you now." This is backwards. It's true. The court has shown bias against Mr. Williams, his lawyers, and in favor of the prosecution. This court must be removed from further dealings on this case. Trial must be mistried based upon goading and improper conduct by the court and the prosecution, and another trial is prohibited and barred by double jeopardy. I like how, by the way, he's aggressively saying stuff like this. This right here, another trial is prohibited and barred by double jeopardy. Don't tell me you're going to give a mistrial and start this whole thing all over. No, we're 5 months in. No, they screwed the pooch. It's not my fault. They screwed the pooch. And at this point, it's double jeopardy. We're 5 months in. Nobody told them to screw the pooch this deep into the trial. This is good lawyering. You have to be clear and say, look, you did a mistrial. It's too late now. And it's too late to, and don't tell me, oh, okay, we'll start all over again, mistrial. No, this requires letting them go. In some, the court must be recused and the trial must be declared mistrial upon the improper judicial and prosecutorial conduct that includes, but not limited to, court lawyers Love and Hilton are now witnesses because they helped Mr. Copeland change his mind and testify by coercion. Court ex parte assisted the prosecution team by convincing Mr. Copeland to change his mind and testify against Mr. Williams. The court has obstructed justice by ordering any transcript of the June 10th ex parte meeting not to be produced to affiants to use to particularize this affidavit as well as cross-examine Mr. Copeland, the court lawyers for the state and others for the jury. Facts of this case were discussed with the court at this impermissible ex parte meeting, and Brady evidence was not revealed to affiants. So here we have the 5 things, right? So 1, these guys are all witnesses. 2, you have the ex parte, the prosecution team were improperly acting when they were trying to convince him, Copeland, to change his mind. 3 is... There's 1, 2, 3 is that the court obstructed justice by not letting us get our hands on the transcript. 4 is facts of this case were discussed with the court in ex parte. You're telling him things, the judge, things that you're not allowed to be discussing with him ex parte. And 5 is that Williams has questions from Mr. Copeland, his court lawyers in the state and others about this meeting, who discussed whatever, and who discussed what, and the fact that this meeting would occur, the substance this meeting, so the jury can decide whether the court and the state have colluded against Mr. Williams. This is a pretty tough motion for the judge. I'll tell you that right now. He's going to have problems. This judge is so screwed. He's so screwed. Can be held in contempt for excusing the Fifth Amendment. I mean, exercising the Fifth Amendment. What is case law on this? You cannot exercise the Fifth Amendment when there's immunity. Now, again, I'm not a criminal defense attorney, and there's 2 different kinds of immunity. One that they were offering was use immunity. There's another one which is, I think, is blanket immunity. I'm not sure if it's called that. I think that rings a bell. But I know that under the grant of certain immunity, it depends on the nature of the immunity and whatever, and the context, that immunity now strips you your Fifth Amendment right because you're not incriminating yourself because you're immune from anything you talk about. So it's almost like you're creating your own immunity by talking about something you can now no longer be prosecuted for it. So in theory, if he would stand up there and say, I did it, we shot him together, he could not be prosecuted. That's essentially, and that can't be used against him. So it's not self-incriminating. So it's not a Fifth Amendment violation. You're not incriminating yourself if it can't be used against you. That's the theory. Weezip, isn't Copeland being sworn in prior to ex parte an important fact? No, the point is that he's now officially a witness as opposed to a potential witness. Once he now takes a role as a witness, that's why the ex parte becomes worse. Sort of cross that threshold. That's correct, WCEP. When you are a witness not charged, is your Fifth Amendment limited like in civil case if your testimony will implicate you in a crime? No, I think that's the whole point, is that you have immunity from any crimes you would be charged with. It's a prosecutor mistake because they asked for the ex parte. That's why the judge and DA are hell-bent on not allowing the mistrial. There's a whole bunch of reasons they're hell-bent on not allowing the mistrial. But yeah, there's a lot of egg on their face here, no question. No question about that. All right. Okay, I'm already 2 hours and 15 minutes in. It's taking me a lot longer than I anticipated. I'm not going to kid you. I'm already 2 hours and 15 minutes in. The three other topics I was thinking I wanted to cover tonight were issues about big companies being sued for, and how broad is the immunities that they have. Because we know that under because that emergency use authority, that it changes the nature of what they could be liable for. And I think we're going to discuss that tomorrow. I'm going to save that for tomorrow. I'll give me more time to do research on it anyway. It's already, and I want to dig into it a little bit more deeply. But I'll share with you this. I'm a little hesitant to share this, but I'm more than 2 hours in, so maybe this will be okay. I'm not going to play the thing, because if I play the thing, it's definitely going to make this stream go yellow. So I'll save it for tomorrow. But basically, you can read here that the issue is misleading Kansas. That the AG from Kansas is saying that the company that shall not be named was misleading Kansans about the treatment that shall not be named. The announcement alleges that company that shall not be named, that they who shall not be named, mislead Kansans on risks such as with those persons carrying and this is probably something having to do with Valentine's Day and other affairs of the heart. And that company that shall not be named claimed that the action that shall not be named protected against various issues that may not be named when data show differently. So they lied about the data. They who shall not be named lied about the data. Additionally, that they who shall not be named claimed that it prevented your car from having transmission issues. You think your car is like going to be able to be changing gears? They said that hey, your carburetor is going to be fine, your transmission is going to be fine, all that stuff's going to be fine. That's what they promised you. But they shall not be named later admitted that they never did the proper studies to back up that claim. And that's what they're being sued for. The release also alleges that they shall not be named coordinated with social media officials to censor speech critical of the item that shall not be named and declined to participate in the federal government's program Operation Head Warp Factor 2, Mr. Data, to avoid government oversight. Kansas AG Chris Kobach said in the announcement, they who should not be named made multiple misleading statements to deceive the public about its product that may not be named at a time when Americans needed the truth. So there you go. From now on, I'm just going to refer to they shall not be named as Voldemort. And we'll refer to as the unforgivable curses. And the unforgivable curses. There you go. Unforgivable curses. I like that. That's a good use. Unforgivable curse. It is an unforgivable curse. That's perfect. That's perfect. The announcement alleges Voldemort misled Kansas on the risks of unforgivable curses, such as unforgivable curses might be very bad for pregnant women. It might cause some serious damage to organs that you don't want to see get damaged. And then Voldemort claimed that unforgivable curses would help you against, I don't know, sneezing and other forms of sneezing, when data showed differently. Now, there's no medical advice here. I don't know any medicine. Nobody knows medicine. Certainly, you're not getting any medicine on my show. One thing I want to make very crystal clear to every one of you. A lot of you I know tune into this show for two reasons. Two flawed, deeply flawed reasons. One is you think that this is some kind of cult. It's not at all a cult type of cult. So that's the reason you're here, you're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong place. The second is, I know a lot of you think that, this guy here, he's giving me all the medical advice. No, there is no medical advice. I know nothing about medicine. Okay? Nobody should take any medical advice from me. I tell that not just to you, I tell that to my own children. I say, if I give you medical advice, you probably should do the opposite. I don't know medicine. I'm not even sure what medicine is. I'm like, I don't know. Where do you get medicine? It's like, you go to the store and there's the aisle there, and if I'm looking for medicine and they give me a choice, I can either get Cheerios or Frosted Flakes. That's what I know about medicine. I know nothing about medicine. Why would you look to me for medicine? There's no medical advice coming from me or from this channel whatsoever. So stop thinking that, Joe is like the brilliant, homeopathic dude who's going to fix me. That's not my role. I'm not doing that. Okay? There's no medicine. There's no, I reject any claims that I'm the only thing, maybe it could be, maybe it's because I'm eye candy. They're like, someone who looks like that has to know something about medicine. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that could be that. It could be that. But you're mistaken. If that's what you think, just get that out of your head. Okay, get that out of your head. It's not true. I don't know anything about medicine. Nothing about medicine. Anyway, that story I plan on covering tomorrow. I'm going to be looking into, because we know that there's certain laws which basically were designed to protect Voldemort and the rest of the Death Eaters. There's certain laws specifically for all the unforgivable curses that they dropped on us. Voldemort and the Death Eaters were all protected from the unforgivable curses. Congress said, "Oh yeah, sure, all the unforgivable curses, whatever you throw out there, that's perfect. That's perfect. We love that." That's what Congress said. So will this work? If they can't be sued for the actual impact, can they be sued for the false claims, or are they protected? Clearly, Kansas AG thinks they can go after them. We're going to break down the statutes which protect. I'm going to be breaking down the statutes which protect Voldemort and his brethren from any direct damage that they cause, and see whether this side attack, this collateral attack coming in from the side saying, hey, look, you might not be able to be hurt for what you did, but when you mislead people about what's happening, that's where we can hold you accountable. Is that true? Is it not true? I think it's a really interesting issue of law. I might cover it during a locals tomorrow. I think it's a really interesting issue of law, but I feel kind of backward having to basically describe it. What are we going to start talking about? I'm going to start talking about the Cruciatus curse versus the Imperial. This is stupid. So I might do this on locals. I'm probably going to do this on locals. It just seems like dumb. So I think I'm going to say that for tomorrow. And now if I go yellow, I'm gonna refute this. This one I'm gonna refute because this one I should not go yellow here. I shouldn't go yellow. Anything that happened here. Oh, look, I went up by 8 people. It's true. 8 people. 8. Thank you. Please hit like and subscribe. 8 people. I'm not blaming you. I'm saying is that from the bottom of the stack, YouTube is sifting them away. Aggravating. There you go. You want to see, is it really live? Yeah, it's really live. Thanks so much. All right. If you can hit like and subscribe, this applies to those of you in the ghetto as well. I'd be obliged. Thank you. Why only 733 thumbs up for old Joe? Fearless leader makes us Kool-Aid, decides what color tracksuits to wear. It's true. Wait, no. The state can only grant you immunity from state crimes, not federal or other state crimes. The granting of immunity is limited. I don't really hear that very often. I don't know. KS case me locals X and Mumble review. Yeah, maybe we'll see. My understanding is the Copeland can't be charged by the state, but Fed still could. His main lawyer had a prepaid fan vacation. Other one took place. This be federal RICO charges? It's an interesting defense. So I don't want to testify until you can get me immunity from federal charges. It's an interesting defense. States have an interest in their own people. Can the federal protection protect Voldemort from that? Likely. But then again, the lines have been crossed. This is what we've seen. What I've learned more than anything. You're asking me a criminal, like a criminal issue here. And what I'm saying to you is, I wouldn't have thought that you could bring that Fannie Willis could bring a RICO case against President Trump. I wouldn't have even thought such a thing was possible. To me, that sounds bizarre. The lines are so crisscross. You're asking me to weigh in on this. There's no way I can weigh in on that definitively. I can't. Because all of a sudden now states are prosecuting for things that I'm not hazarding a guess anymore. What I thought to be true has proven not to be recognized as such by various judiciaries across the country. So why would I hazard a guess? There's what I would think is logical, and then there's what has happened. So I don't know. But this is what I do know has happened. And this brings me to my efforts to ungag Trump. This is the part of the show where I throw in a banner. The banner is going to tell you about givesendgo.com/ungag Trump. So this is what I did today. I spoke to Steve Gosney. And I said, hey, Steve. Hey, Steve. So I got this thing going on here in New York. Any chance that you can help me out and file for me? And he said to me, Joe, you know I love you. You know I'd love to do that. I'm not admitted in Southern District of Florida, and it's really outside my field of what I do. And I got this new job I'm starting, And I can recommend someone who's much better for you. He gives me a name. So I spoke to that name. He said, this guy is based. He's going to love it. Gonna love it. He's going to love it. It's criminal defense attorney. He will love it. He's a huge Trump fan. Go call him. So he gives me a guy named Ed to call. So I called Ed. When I spoke to Ed, he seemed like a smart guy, older gentleman, very excited, very much hates all Jack Smith and everything that's happening here. Very, very excited. He says to me, I'm a criminal defense attorney. This is really constitutional law. I don't really want to, not so much gonna, where is this courthouse? And I spent a long time explaining to him how my application is so different. The arguments of law that I'm making are so different from the arguments that are being presented by Donald Trump. And these are the arguments that we need the court to decide on. I don't want them to come out here and say his speech is special. Because if his speech is special, that's not upending the D.C. Circuit Court's finding that there's such a thing as the state or court's interest in the fair administration of justice that can sometimes be utilized, if it's not someone who is a presidential candidate, can be utilized to gag a criminal defendant. To me, that's a loss. That's an outright loss. If Trump wins this without upending that D.C. Circuit Court decision, that's a loss. I want that thing gone. And that's why I want to go to Florida, so I can basically create this circuit split between the D.C. Circuit Court and the 11th Circuit. That's what I want to do. That's where I want to be. Ed said this is not my thing, but I can give you someone who's really good. Really good. Be really on board with this. Really, really on board with this. He gives me a name. He's saying this guy has prestige. He's known. This guy is known. This is clout. This is authority. And he's really going to be on board with this. This is the guy you should get. This is the guy you should get. He gives me someone named Bradford. First name. And he says to me, call Bradford. Bradford is your guy. So I Google it and I say, this guy? Yep, that's him. Call him. So I call Bradford. I get a secretary. Secretary, I say, can I please speak to Bradford? Who's calling? My name is Joe Nierman. I'm an attorney, and I'm calling because I'm looking to retain him to assist me in efforts to try to file an amicus brief in Florida where I'm looking to get Trump ungagged. And initially, they said, he's in a meeting. He can't talk to you. But when I gave that message, they said, hold on. and 15 seconds later, I'm on the phone with Bradford. Bradford seemed really sharp and certainly seemed based. I gave him an overview. I said, this is what Trump's lawyers have been doing. This is what they've been saying. And that's nice and everything like that, but that's a much weaker argument than what I'm presenting. And that's why I want to present an amicus brief. I want to present an amicus brief to get this stronger argument. Have Judge Eileen Cannon come out there and say, you know why I'm turning this, why I'm rejecting you, Jack Smith? Because the D.C. Circuit Court is wrong for saying that you can ever gag any criminal defendant. Forget that it's Donald Trump. Any criminal defendant, no criminal defendant can be gagged because of the fair administration of justice. That's what I wanted her to say. And that D.C. Circuit Court's reading of Supreme Court precedent is as backward as if it was written in a mirror, as if they read it sitting in a mirror and literally reading it like it was in Hebrew, from right to left instead of left to right. That's how backward their reading of the Supreme Court precedent was. He said, I'm very sympathetic. And I'm going to tell you right now, kudos to you, and I hope you're successful. But I can't help you because I already represent President Trump. And this is a conflict of interest for me to come in representing you. Oh. Oh. So that's the problem. I was unaware of that, Bradford. I did not know that, Bradford. When I picked up and called you, I was unaware of that particular set of facts. And I would agree with you that there's a conflict. You can't. So I said, maybe you could do me a favor. Do me a favor. Review my papers. And maybe in Florida, this will work better. He'll have more success than the failures he's had so far in New York and in D.C. if he makes the stronger argument. And instead of, I said, look at my papers. You'll find it at givesendgo.com/Ungag Trump. At the bottom there's a link. You'll see the papers I file, where I point out that this is a misanalysis of law, and that even if there wasn't a misanalysis of law and it was permitted by a Supreme Court precedent, which it ain't, but if it were, you would need to do an entirely different application of law. So there's a misapplication of law, misanalysis, misapplication, and that fundamental fairness says that this couldn't be done to any president, any defendant, even if he's not special like President Trump, even if it's not political speech. You cannot do this to a defendant. And that's what these Supreme Court precedents say. And stop bastardizing our Supreme Court precedents and twisting them to say the exact opposite just because that's the result you're looking for. Get Judge Cannon to say that. It's far stronger because it's more tangible. It's much more tangible than just saying, oh, political speech is really protected speech, and he's a presidential candidate. He needs to engage in the speech. There's no case law that there's plenty of case law that says political speech is protected. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of case law that says that political speech it merits the highest protection of any speech. That's true. The problem is, what does that mean? How does that make it different? So yes, it needs to be protected, but how does that manifest? In what way is it more powerful? What will we do for that type of speech that we wouldn't do for other speech? Can you find case law that says, oh, regular speech is only going to have this level of protection, but here's a difference that will give an added level of protection for political speech? Because you're not going to find case law like that. We just say it's more protected. But more is very amorphous. It's very amorphous. It doesn't really mean anything. I defy you to find something that says this is the difference. That if it was regular speech, we wouldn't protect it. But this, because it's political speech, that's why we'll protect it. Tell me where you'll find any case law on that. If you can't find case law on it, then yeah, it's technically, theoretically true, but it's not something you can manifest in a decision that's going to help you. But I'll tell you what you can use in a decision that will help you. Read the freaking Supreme Court precedents that they're citing and pull out big chunks of paragraphs which say, hey, you misread, the D.C. Circuit Court misread everything here. New York State Court, Judge Merchant misread everything here. The First Department misread everything here. That's what you do. You want to know how I know this? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because Justice Breyer or countless justices in the past have basically said, don't do this. Supreme Court justices say never, ever do this. Maybe. See, that's tangible. That's a freaking hammer to say you're wrong. Any judge who's sitting there looking at this through non-blue colored glasses would come to that conclusion, which certainly seems like Florida-based Judge Eileen Cannon fits that description, and hopefully 11th Circuit does as well. So I said, maybe you could do this. Look at my arguments, incorporate them into yours. Because if they incorporate them, if Trump were to incorporate these arguments in Florida, which were not really incorporated in D.C., not really incorporated in New York, but if his attorneys, who I'm on the phone with one of them right here and now, would manage to incorporate them in their opposition to this motion and becomes part of their motion, then we can get a decision from Judge Cannon, which says, here's why I'm rejecting the gag, because it's unconstitutional based on Supreme Court precedent, because there is no such thing as a state interest in fair administration of justice. And if there would be such a thing, you need to establish a causal link. if there would be such a thing, you need to have much more evidence than what you present to me, this paltry crap fest that you're presenting in front of me, which is like basically a steaming pile of dung with the flies all around and the stench that's just like making you nauseated of evidence of, oh, here's a whole bunch of statistics, without explaining what they are or how they actually show that Donald Trump was in any way related to the conduct that you're complaining of. Because there's no, and it's basically saying you got no causal link. So go to hell with your stupid application. You're lazy. You're lazy. Transparently crappy application. That's what I'm looking for. It's even better than if I put in an amicus brief is if Trump claims it himself. Because then once Judge Cannon says this is why I'm rejecting it, that gets affirmed by the circuit court. Now, boom, I got my circuit split. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, that did something weird. Okay, we're back. So he said, I'll look at it. I'll pass it along. That's something. Appreciate that, Bradford. Everyone was very nice. Everyone I spoke to was very nice, very helpful. Didn't feel like I got anywhere. So I said, anyone you could recommend to me, Bradford? He gave me a name, Peter. So I called Peter. Left a voicemail for Peter. I have not yet heard back from Peter. But fret not. Because then I got a text message from Ron Baruti. Remember Ron? He was on the show here. Great guy, my lawyer. Ron Baruti came in here, texted me. I was talking about how we can get the standing to get in here. Because apparently the states applied to, in order to submit an amicus, you need approval from the court. And apparently the states, 24 states said, we want approval to submit an amicus brief. And Judge Cannon said, no, I'm denying. I don't want to see your amicus. I don't want to see it. So I said to Ron, I said, look, I think that maybe the reason this was rejected is because they didn't have proper standing. We need to establish strong, rock-solid standing. How are we going to get standing here in Florida? I got standing in New York because I asked him questions about the trial. He said, I can't answer your questions because there's an existing gag. If I were to ask him questions about Florida and the Florida action, and he said to me, I can't answer because of the existing gag, there's no gag now. So how am I getting standing? It was a concern I had. It's a real concern. So Ron was talking about different questions I could ask related to it and show how there's this correlation here as far as the impact on the gag in New York to a potential gag in Florida. They work. I don't know. But he also speculated it's possible. It's possible that the reason that Judge Cannon rejected the application from the states for them to submit their amici brief, or their amicus brief, depending on whether there's more than one, because plural of amicus would be amici. Some would say amici. Some would say amici. Let's not go down that rabbit hole again. I think I did that once before on this show. But their amici brief was rejected, some speculate, because Judge Cannon doesn't want to waste time with this motion. But she knows she's rejecting this motion. She has zero intention of approving this motion. And she knows that if she grants a right for an amici brief, this is now going to have an opportunity for Jack Smith to push things and have a more back and forth about whether or not the amici brief can come in. So he said, if that's the case, then she's going to reject any amici brief. He's like, true. But sometimes you submit a brief. She reads the brief. The argument's still there in her head. So maybe we should just submit a brief anyway. Will it be accepted? I don't know. Now, she has a chance to read it. it gives her something to think about. So maybe we file it, not fully even expecting that the court's going to accept the amici brief. Might say, sorry, I'm not listening to your amici brief. But even when people are saying, I'm not listening to you, it's almost like, it's like, I'm not talking about the white elephant. I'm not talking about the white elephant. I don't even know there's a white elephant. I don't even realize there's a white elephant. I'm not talking about it. And in words and actions, they might say, I'm not really considering it. But if I'm laying out foundational constitutional perspectives about gag orders, she can always incorporate it without saying that she's actually using my papers. And really, I just want her, my words are not what matter. It's her words. I need to get her words to say what I want. So Ron Baruti said, you know what? We're going to go with your approval, Joe. I want to go forward, try filing this amici brief. And I said, do it. Let's go. Let's go. And not only that, but he actually found an attorney. They found an attorney who'll be able to file it for us. It's good to go. Ready to file. Ready to file. Let's go. 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 There you go. Ron Baruti coming through. So once we get this thing filed, whether the amici gets accepted or not, I don't know. I don't know that I'm kind of suspicious that that Judge Cannon is going to say I have no interest in hearing from amici. I just want to reject Jack Smith's application already. It's a good chance. Good chance. But I think that it can only help. So we're going to try filing it. We got an attorney down there. There you go. That's what we got. That's your update. It's supposed to be filed tomorrow. There's a tight deadline. Tight window here on this motion. Very tight window. So we're hoping to have that filed tomorrow. We're not thinking there's going to be very much tweaking that's needed to get this in. Not very much tweaking at all. So there you go. That's our application. That's your update on that. Any other questions? Very good. Yeah, I mentioned that. Oh, yeah, you talked about this before I mentioned it. Michael Ufferman is king of appellate work in Florida. Peter Truggers knows him and has had him on the stream before. Maybe connect with Peter. Well, I got a guy already. I appreciate that. Thank you. But I got a guy. Amicus brief can be ignored. Better to be indirect. Oh, of course. Of course. That's why once I had Bradford on the phone, he tells me, well, I'm counsel for Trump. I was like, awesome. Please steal my work. Please feel free to steal my work. I don't need to have my name on this. You can steal my work. If you want to tweak some of it, that's fine. Please steal my work. Please make the arguments that I at the end of the day, I don't need this to be it's good logic versus whomever. I just need this thing overturned. That's what I need. I just need this thing overturned. So if I can go back to just being a regular, normal podcaster and not have to be involved in filing stuff, all the better. All the better. That'd be amazing. Amazing. God bless. I just want big red pencil, big red magic marker right over the heart of that stupid DC Circuit Court decision. That's what this is all about. Big red magic marker. And if I have to be the one who's carrying the magic marker, that's fine. But if someone else can get a big fat magic marker into the hands of the Supreme Court so they can just big X over it, say, go to hell, that's fine. Even if no one knows that I had anything to do with this effort. That's cool. I just want it gone. Just get it gone. Gone. Leader Joe, I don't know who that is. Our alien guests tell us they have capability to make the hill bend the stage, erupt for the sacrifice portion. The hill behind the stage erupt for the sacrifice portion of the leadership program. They also want us to use mannequins and a donkey. Oh my God. I don't know what's happening. Pinatas for the not live virgins and goats. Oh my God! A water leak in the supply closet destroyed 3 cases of red Kool-Aid and dripped on boxes of white tracksuits. 20 Tom drum hits. You're not supposed to be talking about any of that here. I deny. This is no such thing happened. No such thing happened. Never happened. It's funny. I will give you one of those. That was for you. Ain't you funny? Everybody's a comedian. All right. The other thing I plan on covering was Alex Jones. I don't know. Tomorrow I plan on doing a locals. During locals, I'll be talking about Voldemort. I'll be talking about the unforgivable curses and the efforts by Kansas to try and punish Voldemort for all the unforgivable curses that they lied about to Americans. Lied. That's going to be on locals, goodlogic.locals.com. Goodlogic.locals.com. That's where I'll be talking about that. Also, tomorrow, another reason you should be signing up to locals is because tomorrow I'm going to be making an appearance on some channel that I'm not really familiar with, but they asked me to come on and explain the law related to this Judge Glanville stuff. So that's going to be tomorrow evening around 8, I believe. Around 8. That's when it's supposed to be. So that's going to be then. But I'm going to drop a link for that in locals tomorrow. I think that's my show for tonight. I think I've run out of steam. I think I can. Doing a double check around the horn here to make sure I didn't miss anything. But I think I'm good. Got to do a quick look over on locals live chat. Oh, wow, 9 of you in there. Hey, look at all the diggers. New Jersey indictment today, real or distraction? Tracy's asking me. What indictment? What indictment? There's a whole chat going on in here in the diggers. Oh, yeah. They got the drinks going on in there. Oh, yeah. Hey, yeah. Hey, Viola. Fans. Marty H. Triggered. How are you? All right. I don't know what Jersey indictment you're talking about. Maybe you drop me a link on that, and I'll look at it tomorrow. That's my show for tonight, kids. Hope you had a good time. I will be back, God willing, tomorrow. Locals, goodlogic.locals.com. I plan on having a stream tomorrow. I have an appearance on some channel. Who's the guy? What's his name? The name of his show. Oh, I'm supposed to be doing Nina Infinity on what day? Tomorrow's Tuesday. On Wednesday, I'm going to be on Nina Infinity. I think she wants to talk to me about Nick. I think that's what she wants. Tomorrow, I'm going to be on with who's Angry Cops? What's this guy's name? Angry Cops. Well, there you go. So I'll be hanging out with Angry Cops tomorrow. Should be a fun day. Should be fun times. Good times for everyone. I thank you for joining me. See you all tomorrow. Till then, no matter what they tell you, don't eat the bugs. Don't eat them. Don't eat the bugs. Have a good night, my friends. And as always, Godspeed.